What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Antony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey, which can only mean one thing. It is time for your weekly dose of college knowledge. Yes, this is the college football podcast, the Dore DeBoer-cle. And Ryan, week 6, we have seen one of the biggest shocks in college football this century. We have seen one of the greatest comebacks in college football this century. We saw 7 of the top 25 lose, 4 of the top 10 lose, 3 of them to unranked teams. We've got the American under siege from the service academies. We've got Indiana becoming the first team to get to bowl eligibility. And we've possibly got one of the greatest rebuild jobs of all time going on in a small corner of Louisiana. My question to you this week is, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, I checked the scores earlier on and I thought, oh yeah, like okay, some of it's panning out, and now like, oh wait. And I checked them later, like, oh my. And like now, well, AP poll and everything, it's a total free for all. I was like, well, it don't matter what I say this week because it's all just gone out the window now, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Like there's
Cat
been
is firmly among the pigeons.
yeah, and like this 12 team playoff now, man, it's like, God, there could be several, like we think there could be more than one group of 5 teams sneak into the playoffs if teams keep losing at this rate of knots. This is absolute chaos, absolute anarchy going on in the world of college football right now. And over the next few hours, we're going to try and break that down for you and make sense of it all. So, of course, we're going to be looking back at week 6's action. We're going to be taking a look ahead to week 7 as well. And we're also going to be doing some running back rankings today as well. We'll focus a little bit on the players. Like the running back room is insanely good in college football this season. Seems more so than ever that the depth of running backs at the moment is just insane. So we decided to try and have a go and rank our favorite top 10. They're not draft prospects. This is just who we think potentially are the 10 best running backs in college football. We've done a list each. We've got a few honorable mentions. So we'll go through that as well. And got a little feature on a couple of teams to do today, so we've got a lot to get on with. So we are going to dive right down into that. Let's just get all the housekeeping and bits right out the way first. So, Road Lions UK Discord, if you want in, great. Just let us know. We'll fire you a link. The main podcast did our quarter season review the other day. If you've not checked it out, we had the return of one Tom Wilkinson. So go check that out. It was a great show. I wasn't able to be on it, unfortunately, but Ash, Matt, Tom did a great job summing the Lions' first quarter of the season up. Don't forget to like and sub to everything. Don't forget to subscribe to Lions Nation Unite, which we're a part of as well, Herman Moore's project to bring together the best in Lions content creators. Don't forget we're a Twitch affiliate, monetized on YouTube. We've got a tip jar, all that good stuff. So if you want to help us that way, great. But we just love having you all in the building to chat football first and foremost. And we got the feedback form as well. So fill that in if you feel the need to. Hope everyone is all right who's watching this evening. If you've got any questions or anything as we're going along, then just let us know. And yeah, we'll answer them as we go. Right, loads of stuff to get through. So we're going to dive down into a little bit of news first. So, Ryan, we've had a little bit of coaching news this week. Still no firings, which okay, after 6 weeks, fine. Normally you've seen one by now, but we have had an extension. So Toledo have extended their head coach Jason Candle through the 2028 season. In 10 seasons with the Rockets, he's won 2 MAC championships. He's just registered his 69th win with Toledo, which is 4 short of tying the team record set by Gary Pinkel during the 1990s. He's 69-36 with a 44-19 record in the MAC. The team have made bowl eligibility every single year of his tenure, COVID year aside, because they didn't play enough games. It's a second extension in 2 years as the Rockets look to keep one of the best in the group of 5. They won the MAC 2 years ago. They were in the championship game last year, lost to Miami of Ohio. This is one of the MAC's best, who's going to be carrying on being one of the MAC's best for a few more years, right?
Yep, it's a very well-deserved extension. You can't really fault it, and in this day and age, I don't blame them for tying him down even longer than some teams would have. Like I say, stacking extensions is never a bad thing. He's got them firmly positioned again to make. They've got a good chance. They're the MAC front runners right now, and like I say, they've got a good chance to, like I say, yeah, make it a hat trick like I say, in just a couple of seasons of back to back to back. So it's yeah, it's perfect for him, and it just means that if anyone does want him in future, they have to pay him a lot of money. The buyout will just get bigger with his new deal and his new extension. So yeah, it's perfect for them as they become, I suppose. Well, not this, but I suppose they become the team to beat team in, season out now in the MAC.
Yeah, absolutely. They are the standard bearers at this moment in time. They've had a very good start to this year. They've already got a Power 5 scalp, although it be Mississippi State, but still a Power 5 scalp is a Power 5 scalp. So well done to Jason Candle getting his new deal with Toledo. Lisa's in the building. Hope you are doing well this evening, Lisa. She says hello, Ryan, Antony, and Brent. Hope you're doing well, Lisa. Other bit of news. So we're roughly halfway through the season now, right? Week 6 is sort of about that. I think it's sort of next week that's officially halfway, but there are 133 teams in college football this year. Only 12 of them remain unbeaten through 6 weeks. I'm just going to list them down here, the teams who are there. So we've got the Miami of Florida Hurricanes, we've got the Oregon Ducks, the Texas Longhorns, the Liberty Flames, the Penn State Nittany Lions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Indiana Hoosiers, as mentioned, they were the first team to become bowl eligible this year, the 6-0, BYU Cougars, the Iowa State Cyclones, the Pittsburgh Panthers, and then the two service teams, the Army Black Knights and the Navy Midshipmen. Right, after 6 weeks, anyone on that list you were maybe not expecting to see still be one of the last 12 unbeaten teams in the country?
A few. Iowa State, the service teams, Indiana, uh, at least half of them, if I'm honest.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I will say, let's say at least six of them that I wouldn't have seen as pointless. And like I say, in the recent weeks, like I say, that number's gonna half for the next couple of weeks as it has to, because they're all coming up with big means. So yeah, they're all scheduled to play each other very soon, some of these teams as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, 12 teams unbeaten. The race to get the perfect season is narrowing down. And we've got a big one between 2 and 3 this week. So that's going to go down to at least 11. So we'll keep an eye on who remains in the unbeaten section. And speaking of two of those unbeaten teams, mentioned the Army Black Knights and the Navy Midshipmen. And I was kind of looking at this and through what they've been doing. So our first segment we're doing today, titling it The Salute to Service, because we're going to take a look at these two teams and see what has made them the teams they are this year. Because in recent years, it's been the Air Force Falcons that have been flying the flag for the service academies. But these two are causing an absolute commotion in the American at the minute. Obviously, the Army Black Knights have just become a part of the American. Navy were a part of it already. So, between the Knights and the Midshipmen, they are both unbeaten on this season, sitting at 5-0 respectively. This is the first time the two teams have started a season a combined 10-0 since 1945. And I wonder what the big event that year was, but this is what 60, 70 years, 80 years actually now since this last happened. And these are not narrow wins. Every single one of those 10 wins was by double digits. So for the Black Knights, this is their first 5-0 start since 1996. For the Midshipmen, their last 5-0 was a little more recent, but it was still back in 2017. So that's been 7 years. And for both teams, really, it starts with a rejig of their offense. So looking at Navy, under second-year head coach Brian Newbury, they've gone the UNLV route, and they're using an offense seldom seen in the game. So the mastermind behind this new look offense for them, the offensive coordinator, is Drew Cronick. So he's the former Mercer and Lenoir Rhyne head coach. He runs a modified version of the wing T offense. So for those who don't know, the wing T is traditionally a multiple formation, 4 running back attack. It's an offense that uses misdirection, unusual formations, and a very diverse run game to take advantage of aggressive and undisciplined defenses. It's vastly diverse in its run game, but all the plays are made to look so similar that the opposition defense doesn't really know what's coming. So stopping it, being too aggressive against it is troublesome because the wing can adapt on the fly as you were to how aggressive a defense is going to be. And you just change the run concept that's coming and the opposition don't know what's coming. In Kronik's version, however, his is known as the Millennial T, but for this purpose, we're calling it the Jet Wing T. So he uses a ton of jet motion to get the ball outside the tackles. And for Navy, what this allows them to do, because you get smaller offensive linemen in the service academies. So instead of just having them standing and delivering on the line of scrimmage, you get them moving, you get them out into space. They're able to block better, but then it softens up the box to allow them to run through the tackles as well when teams overcommit to the edge. And the offensive coordinator can just kind of watch the field and adapt as he goes. And now you've got headsets in college football. This is a huge bonus for these option offenses. So they play by play can decide what they're going to do option wise. He's throwing some serious misdirection out there as well. There were plays against Memphis. He was motioning tight ends onto the line of scrimmage between the center and the guard. He's doing all sorts of crazy stuff there, but it's working. But to make it work, it does fully require a quarterback who can not only run the ball, but is a legitimate downfield threat. So teams can't get too aggressive against the run at the line of scrimmage. And this is where, in steps, Blake Horvath. Navy have thrown the second least passes in college football this year. Last is Army, but it's not the amount you throw, it's what you do with them. So Blake Horvath has the highest quarterback rating in the nation at 95.8. The team has the highest pass yards per completion in the nation. It's just a shade shy of 20 yards per completion. He's throwing at 67% accuracy. He's the first quarterback since Lamar Jackson back in 2015 to have 7 passing touchdowns and 7 rushing touchdowns in his first 4 games. And he's only thrown 1 pick this year. He's the first Navy quarterback to have passing touchdowns in 4 successive games in a decade. And Navy's 178 passing yards per game average, if maintained, would be the most by a service academy since Army in 2007. They've scored 38 plus points in all their games so far, something they have not done in their 144-year existence. They're currently 9th nationally in scoring per game. Last year, they were 125th. The defense is doing its part. It's held 4 of its 5 opponents to 21 points or less, which, when you're scoring nearly 40 a game, is quite acceptable. Only playoff chasing Memphis with one of the Group of Five's most potent offenses have really caused them any problems at all this year, and they were still able to beat them. In terms of Army, their change has been a lot more simple. So with all the chop block rule implementations that came into college football, all service teams tried to go under the gun more last year to vary up their offense, which just did not work. They're not designed to play that way. So towards the end of last year and to start this year, they've gone back under center as per true option football. But what they have started to do is they've started to spread their formations out to lighten the box against their run. They're relying more just on their offensive line to block down the middle rather than loads of tight ends and fullbacks. And again, that can only really happen if you've got a quarterback who can project a passing threat. But they do. It's working. And they're currently on a 9-game winning streak going back to last year. So Bryson Daly is the quarterback there. He's more the traditional running quarterback than Blake Horvath is at Navy, but he's having a hell of a season. He's 11th nationally in rushing yards with 600 yards through 5 games, and his 10 touchdowns include 4 of 5 games with multiple rushing touchdowns. They have thrown the least passes in the nation. His throwing accuracy is 57%, which isn't as good as Horvath's. However, he's got 5 touchdown throws, not a single pick. His passer rating has skyrocketed from 72 last year to 141 this season. And this new passing threat he possesses is emptying the box for the Army rushing offense. They're rushing over 360 yards per game, which is the most in the nation by over 60 yards per game from their nearest competitor. Against Tulsa last week, they had 9 plays of 20 plus yards. They're called explosive plays, which is very unusual for Army's traditional grinding offense, which shows this spread in the field is working. They have over 400 yards of offense in every game this season, which is the first time it's ever happened in 11 years of Todd Monken as head coach. As a result of such great rushing success as well, they're controlling the clock. They're third nationally for time of possession. They're averaging 35 minutes per game. But unlike Navy, Army is flying just as much due to the result of a ridiculously fierce defense. Three of their opponents have been held to single-digit points. Not a single opponent has scored more than 14 points against them. They rank 7th nationally against the run, 30th against the pass, and they are the best red zone defense in the entirety of college football. They're not doing much against the quarterback, but with an elite run defense and a secondary fronted by a really good group of corners, you've got the likes of Jaden Mays, Donovan Platt. They're holding up great in coverage. It's not making a negative difference for them. And crucially for both teams, they've been super efficient with their ball security. Navy have a +7 differential, 9 takeaways, just 2 giveaways. Army have a +5 differential with 6 takeaways and just 1 giveaway in 5 games. So both service teams are playing their dominating running games, but with added twitches to make the offense versatile enough to thrive. They're playing disciplined, mistake-free football, and by winning time of possession, they're letting their defenses go out there fresh and ready to suffocate any opposition put in front of them. And this uptick in service academy football is not going unnoticed amongst recruits. Army, they've currently got the 66th ranked recruiting class for 2025, which will be by miles the best it's ever had in the rivals area since these things started getting tallied. And amongst that, they've got 5 3-star recruits coming to the team. Again, comfortably more than what they ever usually get. Ryan, this has been an incredibly good start to the season for Army and Navy. They have adjusted to this day and age of new blocks trying to stop the triple option from thriving, but Air Force has had back-to-back 10 winning seasons. They've been performing well, even if not this year. Army and Navy are going crazy this year. Is service football not only surviving, sorry, but are we now seeing its next stage of its evolution where it's going to become a true threat again?
It's definitely catching up. These teams that, with the rules about, like, say, you graduate, you go on to do service, like, say, you can't really, it's hard to get to the NFL from being in a service academy. They do struggle with recruits, like, say, because a lot of guys, they don't want the mandatory service option that which requires waiving for them to go pro. So they've always got to bear that in mind when they recruit, that they need to, these guys remember, like, say, that you're joining an armed force, like you say, you're not just playing football, so they've got to balance duties, which makes it very difficult for them to get the elite pros. But with that, that means they just have to outcoach teams, as you say. In recent times, we've just seen them just go run, run, run. If it don't work, it's run, run, stop, punt, or it's run, run, run. Oh God, we don't have a guy that can throw the ball. Probably ends up in a turnover or turnover and downs or a punt. But now they're now, like, say, getting these like mesh offenses where they can still keep their personnel, but instead of like what they used to be, where it was like just like a train that was so narrow, like the front of a snowplow, they're now able to put their guys out on the outside, which makes defenses just respect them more. The corners aren't suddenly just stood on the end of the line, like coming to crash down and take out a running back's knees. They do have to respect that there is a wide receiver that will catch the ball if it's thrown his way. The safeties can't just come up to the box and just be ready to like hit the first thing they see because they think it's got the ball. Because now where the jump balls, like I said, the little lofted balls where tight ends now will kind of block, but then they'll also release. And they're all built to, like say, run routes down the field. They've got to respect all these new things now. So they're finding new ways before the ball is snapped to win their matchups and just keep the defense guessing. And defensive side of the ball, not a lot's changed. We know for a fact, like you said, defensive linemen, they're linebackers. Look at guys like Diego Fago in recent, like I said, they are just hard-nosed, great guys that, like I say, can play in the middle. And like I said, they can just play every snap and they can take an absolute battering and they will keep getting up and they'll keep going. But also their defensive backs are getting better. because the offense is getting better in practice. They're going up regularly against more skilled weapons. They're facing more passing, whereas the corners would kind of sometimes be rabbits and deer in headlights when a ball came their way because like, oh, we don't do a lot of this, so I don't know what to do. They're much more comfortable now in coverage, which means their passing grades and when targeted comes down a lot. So these things just all add up to be a recipe for success in general. I'd like to see Air Force start to throw the ball a little bit more. I think they're the one now that will probably want to play catch up this year. Start the season by their own standards terribly. Like I say, they have a brand of football that could do with some tweaks as well. But yeah, I'd like the standard of player, like I said, the type of player they get probably won't change in the coming years. But if they're able to create a more attractive offense to the skill positions, they will get some guys that will want to go play there because they know I'm a receiver here. I'm going to get chances to catch the ball. I'm not just going to be a blocker or a decoy. So yeah, the future is very bright for them. Like I say, at some point, it'd be great to have them all in the same conference, all of them playing themselves. Like I say, once, twice a year. Let's make it like I say, 'cause now they're playing such good football now. When these two sites do meet, and they know that they're both really good at the same kind of thing now. It's going to be a chess match of coaching. Who can outcoach the other before the snap? Like I said, we're going to see them doing a lot of things to try to throw the other team off because they're getting better at the exact same thing now. And yeah, it's a testament to them that they both started the year unbeaten.
Yeah, I mean, the Army Navy game the last few years, from what I remember, has not been the best. Like, their uniforms
They
are
can be
amazing,
difficult
but
watches.
yeah, when they're playing one another. But they're not just beating scrub teams. Like, Navy dropped 56 on Memphis, and we watched Memphis completely dominate Florida State. Like, this doesn't feel just like a shot in the arm, like we're just doing a 1 week segment where they're going to be bad next week. This is seems sustainable going forward for both. And for Army, it's just a defense which is ridiculously good, and for Navy, it's an offense which is again, it's like UNLV in that no one plays against it, so they don't know how to deal with it. And until they figure it out, they're just going to carry on scoring oodles of points, minimum 38 per game so far.
Yeah, until someone is able to adjust to the pre-snap motions and they're able to get a defense that is able to account for three or four running backs or motioning, like I say, and you don't know what they're going to do, who's going to get the ball, or who it's going to be thrown to out of the backfield. And with their formations, you've got trick plays galore.
Oh
You
God,
never
yeah.
know even who's going to throw the ball because you can have, like, say, three running backs round him. You've got the direct snap to any of them. They can all take the direct snap out of a wildcat. Like I say, any of them could then suddenly be the quarterback. You got your flea flickers when you've got that many people in the backfield. It opens up a lot of possibilities when they do find themselves beyond the chains to kind of pull some bit of magic out the bag.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do when you've got two fullbacks in the when you've got two running backs, a fullback, a tight end in motion? Like, who the hell do you like? Who the hell's getting it? That seems to be what's working. I've been watching this new offense of theirs today, and it's just teams cannot adapt to it. They can't pick up where it's all coming from. And they say having the helmet now with the quarterback helps because offensive coordinator sees what the defense is doing. He's like, okay, lads, we're going to run this one now. We adapt it on the fly. But it's been absolutely tremendous what they've done. Do we see one of them in the AAC title game this year? Do you reckon one of them has the stones to go all the way this year? At least one of them to make it.
One of them's definitely got the chance. The one that beats the other, like you say,
Well, they
will.
don't play till after season, so they don't actually play well. They could both be there. Could we see an all-service American in year one? I mean, that'd be crazy.
It'd definitely be interesting, yeah. I don't know. It seems unlikely, but it wouldn't surprise me. It will all be about who, if anyone in the division, let's say, is able to adjust or just keep pace with one of them for long enough. Because
Mm.
if you're able to drag them into a bit of a shootout, that's where one of them will end up struggling. If some team, like I say, can score big and score heavy and score quickly, especially through the air, that is where one of them will probably fall short if they're not able to implement their run game.
See, you look at Army's schedule, they've got UAB, who are a mess, East Carolina, who are not good. Then they've got the game against Air Force, but then they've got North Texas, the game against Notre Dame, and then UTSA. But that's UAB, East Carolina, North Texas, UTSA. I mean, that UTSA game could be it. I wouldn't see them struggling before that. I mean, It'd be funny if Air Force beat them this year and then their season falls apart like the reverse was done last year. But that's a clear shot to their title game. So,
Yeah,
and
the
and,
next three, they should be winning them all fairly comfortably.
and Navy have beaten Memphis, who were the standard bearers for the Americans. So I think there's a well good possibility now that they could both go on and meet in the American. But yeah, that was just a little. We want to show a little bit of love there to the service teams and the improvement they have gone under. So to Army and to Navy, incredibly well done, and hopefully that carries on. Salem in the chat says, "Hey folks, Indiana. Did anyone see Indiana as an undefeated team? If you say yes, you're full of it." No, no, we did not. Nobody saw that here. I thought it was going to be a rough year for them. So yeah, no lies here. None of us saw Indiana been unbeaten at this point in time. Right, so let's move on, and let's move on to the games in week 6 because we have a lot to go through this week. And of course, there's only one place we're going to be starting. If you're getting the title of the show, you're going to be the first game talked about. The title this week is the Dore DeBoer-cle. Obviously the Commodores, we're talking number 1 ranked Alabama traveling to Vanderbilt, 22.5 point favorites on the road with an 85% away crowd and Vandy's little 15% home crowd there to make up the numbers. But Vandy, coming into this game, we're coming off a game taking ranked Missouri to double overtime. They have not been pushovers. They came into this one 2-2, and they showed absolutely no fear in this game. So tremendous opening drive from Vanderbilt. They went 10 plays and 75 yards, taking over 6 minutes off the clock. They started with 4 runs, then had 3 straight completed passes. Then they ended with 3 runs as Cedric Alexander was rugby mauled over the line from 4 yards out as Vandy showed no fear. They went toe-to-toe with Bama's D-line, 7-0 lead to Vandy early on. And then up-stepped Vanderbilt linebacker Randon Fontenette. So on Alabama's first offensive drive, on the second down, second play of the game, he batted away a Jalen Milroe pass at the line of scrimmage. And then on third down, Commodores safety DeRicky Wright was able to bat another Jalen Milroe pass into the air. Fontenette got under it, caught it, returned it for 29 yards for a pick 6, and suddenly Vandy up by 13. The PAT was missed by Brock Taylor, but they're 13-0 up after 2 drives. Because at this point, Matt messaged me and said, "Look, you've got to watch this thing." So me very skeptically goes, "Okay, I will do." And I started watching from this point. Alabama finally did start to settle after this. Milroe found CJ Dupree for a huge 46-yard gain to get to the Vandy 30, and after a further 17-yard reception to the tight end Josh Cuevas, it got them to the 10, and the running back Jam Miller finishes it off with an 8-yard run as the Bama O-line opened up a massive hole on the left-hand side, and it was 13-7 to Vandy at this point. But Vandy did not buckle, and they responded with probably the drive of the game here. 17 plays, 75 yards, which takes a full 10 minutes off the clock. Their 2 literal first drives were longer than a quarter. But Bama do help them on this one. So Vandy should have punted in their own half on a 4th and 4. But Bama get pinged for an illegal substitution. They had 2 number 2s on the field. It's 5-yard penalty, which gives Vandy a fresh set of downs. Then on a 3rd and 8, Diego Pavia, the quarterback for Vanderbilt, converted with his legs. And then he gets a face mask call as well to make it a 23-yard play. Gets them all the way down to the Bama 22. And from there, Vandy take 8 plays, a whole bunch of time to get those yards. It's very hard 1 yardage. It's finished off again by Cedric Alexander from the 1-yard line. Also in that little sequence, Bama drew a roughing the passer penalty as well. But the Commodores, they scrapped for every single yard on that drive. They converted 4 of 4 on 3rd downs, and they took the lead 20-7. And Vanderbilt don't relent on the kickoff. Emmanuel Henderson, the Bama returner, fumbles the return to Vandy on Bama's own 15. He gets saved by the refs who overturn it as his elbow grounds it as it's coming out. It's questionable. It doesn't seem enough to overturn it, but they did overturn it. But Alabama very clearly rattled. The mistakes continue. On that drive, Ryan Williams, the young 17-year-old sensation, he fumbled an attempt to catch out of bounds, which turned a possible third down completion into a punt. So they were making mistakes left, right, and center. Vandy got good field position. They put together a grinding 8-play, 26-yard drive that takes another 4 minutes off the clock. They are stopped, but then Brock Taylor there, they're sometimes good, sometimes bad kicker. He absolutely leathers in a field goal from 51 to extend the lead, makes it 23-7 to Vandy. But Bama then hit back. They have a 9-play, 83-yard drive. It takes 3 minutes. Jam Miller has a fantastic run for 32 yards through the tackles. He breaks 3 tackles along the way to get to the Vandy 3. He finishes it off with a jog to the right pylon. It's 23-14 to Vandy at this point. Vandy do have 90 seconds before half to try and get more points. They don't score, but more critically, they do drain the clock to not give Alabama the ball back to protect their lead. And Ryan, I'll stop it there now because this is a long one. Halftime, Vanderbilt 23-14 up against Alabama. Obviously, Bama scored before the half, and I think still at this point everyone's going, yeah, well, Bama are going to win easy. But in this first half, Vanderbilt showing an incredible amount of resilience, running the ball well, long extended drives, keeping Jalen Milroe off the field, getting turnovers, taking advantage of them, just keeping on fighting there. It's an incredibly impressive first half from Vanderbilt. Alabama looked rattled and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, Vandy were beating them and they were beating themselves. I'd have loved to be a fly on the wall in that dressing room. Kalen DeBoer must have lost his mind. The lack of discipline that you very rarely see from a Crimson Tide team. Penalties, turnovers, what look like players squabbling, like say losing their composure because they're not used to losing and they're not used to losing to Vanderbilt, and it came as a shock to them. But then it's the drives that don't just suck the clock; they kind of take a little bit of your soul. Like say 10-minute drives, like say 26 play, just crazy drives that either end in points or they just chip away at your spirit and kill clock. They're both just as good, and there were plenty of them in the first half. And Vanderbilt, like I say, firmly controlled the half. Rightly, I'm like, all right, they'll wake up, Bama. They'll come out the second half. Like that was a warning. They'll make a game of this. And like I say, Vanderbilt have been very good, but yeah, like I say, they'll wake the beast in the second half is what I thought. But a very commendable first half. Like I say, they did everything to, like I say, put them on themselves to position to win.
Yeah, absolutely. They did. And kind of as we suspected, whatever Kalen DeBoer said to them at halftime, it seemed to work. Bama come out. They have a very decisive 5-play, 53-yard drive. After a 46-yard kickoff return from Henderson, Milroe gets a designed quarterback run. He gets behind a whole train of blockers. He hits a hole for a 14-yard rushing touchdown. And Bama get within 2 points. It's 23-21 to Vandy, and you're thinking, okay, this is kind of where it goes off. Vanderbilt are then forced to punt, but again, not before they take 6 minutes off the clock on a 9-play drive, and they get the punt all the way down to the Bama 4, so they put them in a really rotten position. Then Jalen Milroe, the errors continue, makes a big error on third down. He heaves a huge completed pass downfield. I think it was to Jeremy Bernard, if I remember rightly. And you're thinking, oh God, here we go. They're going to go and score again. But not before he crossed the line of scrimmage. He forgot where he was. He threw it too late. And for that penalty, it's a loss of down and half the distance to the goal. So from being a big completion downfield, it's all of a sudden Bama have to punt from in their own end zone, and Vandy get it all the way at the Bama 45. So great field position for them to start. Then they get really brave. So it looks almost like they're forced 3 and out. They're put down to 4th and 1 at the Bama 46. Diego Pavia 36. Sorry, I got that wrong. Diego Pavia. They take the snap, they go for it on 4th down, and with 3 defenders about to pummel him from every side, he launches one of the most beautiful spiral deep bomb balls you will see to Junior Sherrill, who has left Malachi Moore for dead at this point. It's perfect placement in stride all the way down to the Vandy end zone, to the Bama end zone for a touchdown. And just like that, on fourth down, it's 30-21 to Vandy. They got brave and they went for it all, and they were rewarded. Then both teams just really start throwing punches at one another, literally speaking. Bama hit back in 2 minutes, and it's a piece of sheer artistry from 17-year-old Ryan Williams. Milroe hits him deep on the left perimeter. He takes a hit whilst catching the ball, evades a second defender, and runs it home for a 58-yard touchdown. And somehow he stays in bounds. It's a bit unlucky for Vandy. The first defender hits him. The second one kind of stops, thinking the other one's got him. And then before he realizes it's too late, Ryan Williams has gone. Just top tier receiver play. We saw him do something similar against Georgia the other week. The guy is just, his ceiling is absolutely insane. But it brings it back to 30-28. 2-point lead for Vandy again. But they keep fighting back. Pavia, he pulls out this lovely shovel pass to Eli Stowers, the Taysom Hill clone that they have at Vandy, fools the entire Bama defense, goes for 33 yards. Then they just run it down Bama's throat into the Bama red zone. Then they have a touchdown erased for holding, unfortunately. It's a great improvisation play from Pavey. He scrambles, then he throws the ball back behind the line of scrimmage to Richie Rush. All the defenders have come in. He sort of just runs it into the end zone, but I think it was the right tackle got pinged for holding. Instead, they have to settle for a 33-yard field goal. 33-28 to Vandy with 10 minutes left in the game. And Bama get the ball with the chance to take the lead for the first time in the game. They have completions of 20 yards to DeBoer-cle and 16 to Bernard. Quickly gets Bama in the Vandy 40, and you start fearing for them at this point, thinking this is where it turns. But up steps Vanderbilt edge rusher Miles Capers on the third play of this drive. He destroys the Alabama right tackle Elijah Pritchett, hits Jalen Milroe hard, strips the ball loose for him, and then Vanderbilt's German defensive lineman, Louisianan Watara, recovers for Vandy. It's a massive turnover when Bama looked like they were going to go down and score, and Vandy make them pay. So passes to Eli Stowers and Quincy Skinner Jr. get Vandy back in the Bama red zone. Runs get them all the way to the 6. Then this lovely rollout from Diego Pavia to his right allows him to hit Cameron Johnson in the chest. He takes it in from 6 yards out, and all of a sudden, from potentially going behind, Vandy are 40-28 to the good. Bama have 5 minutes potentially to rescue things. Milroe hits this tremendous 47-yard deep shot to Jeremy Bernard as they threatened a really quick score at the Vandy 23. But then the Vandy defense, it really fights hard. It takes 6 plays and 2.5 minutes for Bama to break them down. But eventually they do. Ryan Williams, they use him on a jet sweep. He signed it as Saunders in because it completely fools the Vandy defense. And it's 40-35 to Vanderbilt. And then Vanderbilt have 2.5 minutes left to weather the storm. And Bama have 3 timeouts and the brand new 2-minute warning that they have. This is where Diego Pavia steps up massively. So throwing backwards with a Bama player on him on a pressure from a third down, he finds his running back Alexander for 19 yards. Very next play, Alexander then hits a huge hole dug out by the left of the Vandy line for 13. And then Pavia hits the same hole and throws himself with all his strength over the first down marker to finish off the game for Vanderbilt. At this point, Malachi Moore, who's not had a great game, then has a meltdown. He shoves Pavia's face into the ground to draw an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Then he refuses to be subbed out when the Bama coaches try to take him off the field. He has a massive meltdown when this game is all said and done. But the main important thing is Vandy get to kneel the game out. They send shockwaves through college football as they take down Alabama. And one of the greatest things I've ever seen in college football, the 15% home crowd chanting the na 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 na, hey, 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 goodbye song to an 85% Alabama contingent. They storm the field. The goalposts are removed, rehomed in the Cumberland River a few miles down the way from them. And for Vanderbilt, this is an absolutely seismic win for them. It's their first ever win over a number one ranked team. It's their first win ever over an AP top five team. Previously, they were 0-60 in that category, and it's their first win over Alabama in 40 years. And in Bama's case, this is the first time since 2008 that a number one ranked team has lost a game when it was more than three touchdown favorites. I mean, Bama came out hot after the half, as we thought, right? But Vanderbilt never dropped off. And even when they didn't get points, they took time off the clock and kept that defense out there and made them make mistakes. And then critically, they got the turnovers they needed to. And every time they made Alabama pay and kept them at arm's length. And then really, they were magnificent. They fought for absolutely everything. And Alabama couldn't break the plucky underdogs down.
Yeah, the lead they built at the half gave them something, like say, hope to come out the half and cling on to. And yeah, Alabama came out. Second half, Alabama were better, but it always felt too little, too late for them. Like they were always at arm's length. They were always playing catch up, and every time that Vanderbilt got the ball back eventually, as you said, they'd either kill 5 or 6 minutes, or they'd at least get a field goal range. And with every score or minute that ticked away, it felt like Alabama had got more desperate. It looked desperate, like I say, the lack of discipline, like I say, players like say Foreign having paddies, like I say, because they're not used to losing, and the disrespect they probably showed throughout for majority of the game to a lot of the sideline, their own coaches, Vanderbilt players, because they didn't like this, they didn't like being on the end of this, and yeah, the turnover with the sack of the fumble recovery really was the icing on the cake that allowed them to give them the chance to then ice the game. And yeah, biggest win in Commodores football history, one of the biggest upsets in AP poll history, probably the biggest. It really, after beating Georgia a couple of weeks ago now, you suddenly look at this team and think it's not all that. You look at them and think, really, this has highlighted a lot of huge flaws that they've got, player wise, personality wise. You look at some of the guys, let's say mental toughness, and just the character of some of these guys that, well, some of these guys are going to be future first round picks, but if they don't take losses like this well, or they can't keep their nerve, then will they? And in the end, yeah, a 50-minute walk with like what, 100 kilo goalpost dumping the river, well worth $100,000 fine for pulling the post down. Every Commodores fan will chip in a few dollars to pay that fine. It won't bother them. And yeah, it makes you want to know what Vanderbilt can go on and achieve now this season. Really, they need to build on this and use it. Don't just be a one-off. They need to really say, like, they need to rattle off a couple of wins now, or really give the frights to a lot of SEC teams now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this wasn't a fluke, but 2 weeks ago, double overtime against Missouri. We'll talk about them later, but still a ranked Missouri team on the road. They took them to double overtime. They've beaten Virginia Tech at their stadium this year. And I know it doesn't sound much, but Vandy have lost a lot to other Power Four opposition over the years, not just SEC. I mean, you look at this team. So in this game, no turnovers, none, nada. Alabama had two. They scored off both of them. They played turnover-free football. They played predominantly post-part discipline-free football. 3 penalties for 20 yards. That was it. Bama had 8 penalties in this game for over 50. 12 of 18 on third downs. 1 of 1 on fourth down, which was the touchdown. Playing clutch football. I mean, it wasn't special. They were going at, I think if I've got it up rightly here, 5.5 yards per play, which is 43rd percentile. It's not sexy, but they were getting 3 yards on a run, 4 yards on a run. And when you're 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4 with Diego Pavey, who's a rushing quarterback who can do a little bit of everything, the playbook just opens up. And Alabama didn't seem to be able to deal with it all game. But when you need to go out and beat a giant, you've got to play disciplined. You've got to have ball security. and you've got to go out there and make the most of it. And time of possession, 42 minutes and 8 seconds to 17 minutes and 52 for Alabama. They played long, hard, grinding, pounding football, clean football, and that's what you got to do to beat big teams because it elicits mistakes out of them and you can punish them.
Yeah, it's all about doing the fundamentals right. Teams like Bama score too quickly. You can't give them any free plays. No turnovers. Like I said, when you get the ball, you need to keep on it for as long as you can. Even if that means penalties set you back. What you do on second down will probably determine the game. If you're at 3rd and 8 most of the game, you don't stand a chance. But if you're at less than 3rd and 3 or less, you've always got a chance. 3rd and shorts, 3rd and manageables, your whole player book is still there. You don't have to go to the desperation heaves. And that's what really got them through the game. Whereas, like I say, they were able to just eke out them yards, which gave them a better chance at a conversion. And if you do well or you don't convert on the 3rd down, then you can be plucky, you can be gutsy. Vanderbilt had nothing to lose. Bama have everything to lose. So teams that can go on it on 3rd and 4th down, they can really play worry-free football. So we saw a lot of that. But yeah, great stuff. Like I said, Missouri double overtime. The Commodores are finally trending in the right direction to be not yet competitive, but they're no longer the team that everyone just chalks off as a loss. And like I said, they're now going to be, I'd like to think, in bowl contention every year. And that is a good start for a team like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in terms of Bama, defense was awful. That's not good. That third down defense is absolutely rotten. Malachi Moore's had a game to forget, and he's been disciplined this week. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I think he's playing at the weekend, but he's had his arse stung, as they say. But on offense, Jalen Milroe did very well in this game. Like he had two mistakes. I mean, one's a battered up pass. You feel bad for quarterbacks when passes are battered up in the air. Yes, he gets strip sacked on another, but for the most part, his numbers were pretty good. 18 of 24, 299 yards, two touchdowns. They pulled it really well down the field. However, he's not the one we want to talk about here. There's a 17-year-old on that team who, I mean, Christ alive, could be one of the best wide receivers we've seen out of college football, period, in years. How impressive does Ryan Williams look? His touchdown down the line, like Georgia last week, contested catching down the sidelines, playing through contact, not getting nervous, not dropping it, and just looking like he's a 5-year veteran who's, played in, he's been playing since 2019 in college football, and now they've got him on jet sweeps. They're using him everywhere, and he doesn't seem phased in the slightest. He's a true superstar in the making.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether they win or lose. It'll never be because of Ryan Williams. Like I say, he is just a walking highlight reel. As you mentioned, he's got more maturity at age 17 than there's guys on that team that are in like nearly 20, in their early 20s. They could even ever hope to have the level of composure or just self-awareness that he's got. He knows he's a superstar and he knows that at such a young age, he can make so much money out of NIL. There'll be so many things out there that can distract him from football, girls, money, partying. Like I say, whether it's legal or not, there's a lot of things out there that there's people out there that are going to try to take advantage of the kid and his fame and the money he can make. And if he doesn't let it happen and he keeps his head down, he keeps balling, like I say, yeah, we're talking not this year, next year, Heisman favorite. He'll win a Heisman. It of course he will. It seems just destined to be greatness. And then, like I say, he's going to go on to the pros, the future, the world is his oyster. And being a hometown kid from Mobile, like I said, there's no reason for him ever to leave the Tide. Like I say, as long as they don't do anything stupid and force him into the portal, because he's going to go to like Georgia or he's going to go to LSU or Ole Miss, he's going to go to a big rival. If they do right by him and they just keep putting him in positions to do well, then he should spend every year until he's draft eligible there and should really try to win that. But yeah, right now he looks the real only outlet that Jalen Milroe's got downfield. That
Hmm.
is worrying in itself because you're putting a lot of pressure on such a young man. But so far, he is delivering nearly
Yeah.
30 yards a catch.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous,
it's not
isn't
going to
it?
last forever. They're going to have to get someone to take their eyes off of him. Someone's going to have to step up.
Yeah.
But right now, he doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
No, they've got some good guys. They got Quavers, the tight end, was really good, but he took a great shot from somebody and I
Yeah,
think he got
Quavers, like you
stretched
say,
off.
Dupia. There's guys like that, like you say, that are able to help.
Yeah, they just need to find a bit of balance. But
Yeah,
Milrow still looks good.
yeah.
Like
It's
this
because they're
wasn't on
struggling to
him.
run the ball, like you said.
Yeah,
Justice Ellis, like he just didn't turn up, did he? Justice.
no, no, he did not at all. For um Vanderbilt. So I'm wondering what is the ceiling for their prospects on this side. So we talk about the quarterback room coming over from New Mexico. Pavia, I mean, so many great quarterbacks over the years have been intimidated into losing by Alabama and their crowd. And let's face it, this was a partisan home crowd. They were like, it was 85% Bama fans, and they were making a lot of the noise. This was, for all intents and purposes, a Bama home game. He looked so cool and calm and collected, and he didn't panic. No turnovers, no fumbles, no nothing. The big play on fourth down, the touchdown pass, which just looked effortless. The 19-yard pass on that last drive to ice the game when he's falling backwards with a player on him. I mean, you know, there has to be something there more for him afterwards because I've never seen a quarterback so calm and composed under so much pressure because he will have been under pressure all that second half. Every minute that went past and Vandy came closer to winning, that will have been like been in a submarine down 2 miles down. And, just the pressure will crush you. He didn't look bothered. And if anything, he thrived in that environment.
Yeah, I genuinely think, like I say, as a senior this year, I think he will go to the Senior Bowl. He's got to get an invite to the Senior Bowl, sure. Like I say, he's had such a good year so far. He will get interest workouts. He will get camp invites. Like I say, looks like a QB that could be on a practice squad in the NFL next year. If not, be a starter in the XFL, USFL, CFL. Like I say, pro football very much looks like it's going to be destined to this guy's future. He is going to be playing at somewhere at some level. Like I say, he could be someone that ends up being a backup in the NFL. Like I say, someone that you depend on reliable to come in. So yeah, I've seen everything. I've got all the traits, the physicality. He's got the IQ, the ability to escape and make plays on the run. That a lot of these guys that will look at the next level. So there are definitely prospects as a pro for him.
And then the other one I want to mention because he had his first, well, maybe not his first big game as a receiver. It's the first big game I've seen him have as a receiver, but there's a place for a Taysom Hill in the NFL. We've seen the Saints do it. And Eli Stowers, over the years, he plays quarterback. He's been backup, so he can throw the ball. He can run the ball. He's a tight end. He's a blocking lineman. And now we've seen his receiving prowess. He had 6 catches for over 100 yards in this game. He seems to now be showing a case that at the next level, like he'll probably be a UDFA wherever he goes, but there's potentially a future there for him as well because people want a gadget guy like Taysom Hill, and he is, to my knowledge, the closest thing college football has to it. I mean, he can do it all. And it seems to me that like he'll be on draft radars now when potentially he may not have been before.
Yeah, there are teams out there, there are coaches or offensive coordinators that just covet versatility. Like you say, we've seen Taysom Hill, guys like Logan Thomas, Keenan Reynolds, the old Navy quarterback, like you say, just pure athletes that you don't pigeon them all into a position. You kind of just find ways to get them the ball, like say at running back, quarterback, at tight end, at receiver. They're kind of just happy to learn a bit of everything, and they're able to just be coaches. They're coachable. They're just moldable. And they kind of just listen. They do everything that's asked of them. Those are the kind of guys that do usually find their ways onto teams or onto rosters at the next level. Because, yeah, like I say, special teams. Yeah, Styles could probably make a big name for himself on special teams, and some teams value that more than others. And if they do get right at the next level, they won't be chunk players, but they can go out there and they can make big splash plays in certain packages, certain formations. So yeah, there's definitely ways that you can use these kind of things to your advantage at the next level. And Stowers with a massive frame, big strong guy, like say experience, receiving, rushing, like say can pass. So yeah, you can do a bit of everything. That is a kind of the best way that he's going to find himself. Like I say, it's someone you'd like to see at the combine. Right, so if he tests really well on paper and he lights up the charts, then yeah, a lot of teams are going to look at him, and some teams will be asking him to do certain things. Some
Yeah.
teams won't.
Yeah, 6'4", 235, like perfect frame for your tight end, sort of outside receiver guy. You can run him as a running back. He's a former four-star recruit. He was a highly touted guy who just never found his way. But that versatility, Eli Stowers is going to be, I think he's going to be on an NFL roster. Maybe not drafted, but I think he's going to surprise a lot of people at the next level. And Pavia could as well. Like I say, I agree with you. I hope Pavia gets to the Senior Bowl and has a chance to show, because he's done it at New Mexico, the Military Institute. He's done it in triple option down in FCS, if they are FCS. I think they might be. He's then done it at New Mexico State in the Group of Five, and he's performed really well and nearly won them a CUSA title. Now he's doing it in the Power Five. I appreciate those guys who go through the system and just carry on being great. It means he can take this jump up to the NFL level and be good. So Stowers and Pavia have a future there. Maybe some of this other Vanderbilt team do as well. But well done, Commodores. Tremendous victory. One of the greatest we've seen. Probably the biggest upset we've seen since, and I hate to say this, Michigan fans, App State took down Michigan in 2008 or 9 or whenever it was.
The
It's on
blocked
that.
kick.
The block kick, it's on that scale of upset, which is why I didn't call it the biggest upset, because Vandy technically they are a power team. App State were not a power team at the time, so I would put that above, but I think this is second. But given who they're playing, this Bama team may be a lot better than that Michigan team back in the day. Anywho, well done Vanderbilt, taking down Alabama, biggest shock we've seen in forever. And then we told you we've seen one of the biggest shocks in college football this century. But we've also seen one of the greatest escapes of college football in this century. And that means, of course, we're going right across the other side of the country. Game day was in Berkeley this Saturday, taking in the home of the California Golden Bears and their first ever home game in their new Atlantic coastal home. And walking into town was the number 8 ranked Miami of Florida Hurricanes, fresh off surviving by the skin of their teeth against a last-minute overruled Hail Mary against Virginia Tech the week before. And I mean, this was a tremendous game for all intents and purposes. I had to watch it the day after. It didn't finish till 7 a.m. British time. It didn't kick off till 3 here, so we weren't able to watch this one in the flesh. But it started off really well. Both teams punted to start with. Miami of Florida then took the lead. Mark Fletcher, the standout young running back, he had a 3-yard run for a touchdown. Andre Borregales he got the pat for that. But California quickly hit back. Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback, hit a pass downfield to Jack Endries for 57 yards for a touchdown. I think it was one of either 4 or 5 50-yard plays that Cal had in this, but they had some absolutely decimating downfield plays in this one. And then Cal kind of took over this game. They forced a quick out. They got the ball back. Jaden Ott, the star running back for them, who's been battling with injury this year, he got a 5-yard rushing touchdown a couple of minutes into the second quarter. Miami did grind out a drive after this, but they had to settle for a field goal. Borregales, one of the best kickers in college football, he had a 46-yarder, which he made, which probably would have been good from 64 yards. He is a great kicker. But then Cal, immediately on the next drive, takes them less than a minute. Mendoza again, pass completed to Jaden Ott. It's just kind of a simple pass, almost a screen pass out onto the perimeter. Jaden Ott scampers past a whole bunch of defenders and houses it from 66 yards away. And you're starting to fear for Miami at this point. 8 minutes left before the half. There were no more points scored before the half. Miami just couldn't. They were not good. Cam Ward threw for about 108 yards in the first half, and things just were not going well for him. And then out the half, they got even worse. So 4 minutes, sorry, into the half, Cam Ward, I love him to death, and he is great. He's a Heisman frontrunner. He makes the mistake that so many quarterbacks do. He rolled out to the right, thought he had the arm strength to throw it back across field, and what he does is he just heaved it right into the middle of the field into 3 waiting Cal defenders who I don't think could believe their luck. that it was there. And the linebacker Noel Williams returns it 40 yards for a pick six. It was absolutely traumatizing at that point. And then Cal just really dig it in, so they force another out. And then they get a run from Chandler Rogers, who's the backup quarterback. He's the rushing quarterback. They bring him in on a trick play from the ninth. Design quarterback run, touchdown, 35-10 to Cal at this point. And there's only 8 minutes left in the third quarter. Miami finally do start getting this thing going. But there's 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and it is still 35-10. But then comes what can only be described as one of the greatest comebacks of all time. Enter Heisman candidate Cam Ward. He leads scoring drives of 12 plays, 75 yards, 11 plays, 75 yards, 9 plays, 70 yards, 6 plays, 92 yards. And he was put under so much pressure for this. So on his first drive, he had to complete a 4th and 3 at halfway, which he did to Xavier Restrepo. He then had a 2-point conversion after Damian Martinez ran the ball in from 1 yard out to get them back into it. He did. He got the 2-point pass to Xavier Restrepo, brought it back to 35-18. Cal then get a field goal with 14 minutes left, and it's still 38-18. And you're thinking, that's it. Then on his second drive, he has to convert a 4th and 6, and then he throws a touchdown pass on a 3rd and goal from the Cal 18 on the next drive. Throws that one to Isaiah Horton, which was in a very tight window as well. They just kicked the singular point on this one to make it 38-25 to Cal. Miami's defense is able to get a stop. Then on this next drive, he has to complete a 4th and 10. He has to complete 2 long third downs, and then he runs in a 24-yard touchdown on the next run. He's sort of just rolling out to the left to start with. Then he sees a gap, and he just sticks on these burners, blasts through about 3 defenders, runs it in from 24 yards out. And then Miami are able to get another stop, but not before they commit a few penalties. He's given 88 seconds to lead a drive from his own 8 to save the game, and he's got 1 timeout, I think, at this point. First pass, under a ton of pressure, just off his end zone, he absolutely hoiks a beautiful pass downfield, once again to Xavier Restrepo, who gets a ton of yak. This thing goes for 77 yards after the first play, gets them all the way down into the Cal end zone. They get to third down, time's running out. And then he throws this screen pass, but he has to jump over a blocking D endman who's trying to get his arms in the air to knock the ball out. He jumps, throws the screen, and Elijah Arroyo from 5 yards is able to get it in for a touchdown with just 26 seconds left. And then the Canes defense picks off Mendoza while he's trying to hoik it on a 4th and 10 to try and recover this thing for Cal. And Miami, whose success rate of winning this at the end of the third quarter was 0.6%, I do believe. Somehow, some way, Ryan, they're finding ways to win. And it's easy to say maybe they're a bit of a fraudulent team because of what went on with Virginia Tech and what's gone on now with Cal. But this is a team who last year needed to kneel out a game against Georgia Tech, rush the football, fumbled it, and ended up losing. They just lose games, and they find the most hilarious ways to do so. This Hurricanes team, there's something different about them this year. They're not the greatest team in the world at this moment in time, but to me, they seem one of the most resilient teams in the country. They had to come down 3 times against Virginia Tech to win that one. And now they come back from 25 points down with 18 minutes left in a game, having to make crucial stops, having to make clutch play after clutch play after clutch play. That's a Heisman-worthy performance from Cam Ward there, and that's the kind of thing that wins you the trophy come the end of the year.
Yeah. I'll start by saying shame on Cal for absolutely shitting the bed. They did, didn't they? Like I said, really, they have no right losing that game. they literally just stopped playing defense. And yeah, they just like basically like, do you know where you put like skip or sim end of game, like on Football Manager? They just did that because they thought they'd won. They took their foot off the gas. And we saw, yeah, previously, like I say, Virginia Tech, Cam Ward just wouldn't go away. Like I say, his ability to scramble, his ability to throw on the run, his ability to throw the ball back across his body, which is one of them things you're told never to do as a quarterback. You're taught as a kid, don't do that. He's very good at it, at generating the torque and the revolutions on the ball to get it to where it needs to go. But yeah, full credit to a team that does not know when it's beaten. Sure, should they be getting falling behind like that? No. Did they play well in the first half? No. But it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And he knows that he has got the potential to be a first round draft pick next year. And he's playing every game and every snap like its life depends on it. And right now, it's a three-way Heisman. You can put Cam Ward v Ashton Genty v Travis Hunter. I'd say right now, like three names that no one would begrudge being the top three. Because Cam, like I say, is playing out of his lights. He's putting up massive numbers week in, week out. With guys, like I say, a run game that is hit and miss, a defense that keeps putting him far too far behind the chains, and he's playing hero ball. And yeah, like I say, he dug them out massive a hole. He scored quickly on long drives. They weren't behind the chains. They were very efficient. And in the end, the defense comes up and seals it with a pick. But yeah, he's putting a team on his back right now. That is it the best team? No. Is it undefeated? And has it got a great chance of making the playoffs right now? Pretty much, yes, because of its quarterback and the weapons around him that he's built a great connection with. So yeah, I can't fault him. Is it gonna? Yeah, someone's gonna beat them eventually, like I say, because the defense will just dig him a hole he can't get out of, or he's gonna try too hard, and there'll be an ugly game where there's lots of turnovers. I'd expect that, and I'm not gonna hold that against him. But as long as they keep winning and those game doesn't happen yet, the less likely it is before the playoffs it's going to happen. Yeah, I can't see anyone that's going to win the division that's not, like say, wearing the U right now because they just score too heavily, too quickly, and they've just got a resilience.
Yeah, and they're getting healthy. Like this was the first game they had Ruben Bain back, their star defensive, and he got a massive sack in the fourth quarter, which stopped one of those drives they got there. But for Cam Ward, like this is why you don't do preseason rankings, right? When everyone was talking about quarterbacks and draft rankings coming into this season, everyone goes, "Oh, it's Carson Beck. Oh, it's Jalen Milroe. Oh, it's all these high, these high top." Nobody talked about Cam Ward. Apart from us, we've talked about Cam Ward because we appreciate how great that he is. But notice how everybody's quickly flipping the script on him now, like, "Oh, I've always been a Cam Ward fan. I absolutely love him, but he should be in conversation for quarterback one right now in the next draft, right?" Because last week we saw Carson Beck, fall apart in Alabama. This week we see Cam Ward, and people go, "It's Tuscaloosa, whatever." That was a sold out stadium. That was a hostile crowd. He was 25 points down, and he's got that entire weight of crushing disappointment in Miami history. Like that is a thing. Miami get disappointed. They are under it. They are expected to fail, and people are waiting for them. That is one of the highest pressure situations a quarterback can be put in. And he pulled out a Heisman worthy performance there. So he has to be in this conversation for QB1 now, regardless of his career playing in the air raid. He's shown he's more than that, and he should be in that conversation now.
Yeah, it's the uncertainty around the other quarterbacks and his performances, like I say, because everyone's forgotten about Quinn Ewers because he hadn't played 2 games. Suddenly he doesn't exist.
Mm.
Carson Beck, I'm not overly high on. There's things about him I don't like. And then you look at the other guys. I don't know. Like I said, next year will not be a good first round to pick a quarterback. And that works so well for Cam. Like I say, he is now able to chomp at the bit at the guys that will look like locks. Like I say, even if he goes at the end of the first round and maybe has to sit a year, it probably means that Cam Ward just lands in a better team that is not ready for him to start right away, which should be better for him in the long run. He gets a team that has got the foundations ready, or someone, yeah, or someone like say reaches really high for him because they love the fact, like say, he's got a strong arm. He's also very mobile. like you say, he's able to do it on the run. I look at him sometimes and I see like hints of Kyler Murray and the traits that people loved about Murray. Yeah, massive, like say, makes bonehead plays, like say, makes magic sometimes. And yeah, those kind of things go a long way with scouts and evaluators. So yeah, the QB1 situation is incredibly murky. It could go 3 or 4 ways. And yeah,
Exactly.
I expect he should have his name called. I reckon someone will pluck for him in the first round. Whether that's right
Oh
or
yeah.
wrong, he's done enough to put himself in that position now.
Well, the other thing he's done, and we keep mentioning this, is he's taken the hard route through college. So, he's done it. He's done it at Incarnate Word, like down in the FCS, was an absolute stud sensation there. Turned around Washington State, at least for the first year he was there, but still was one of the leading passers in the country every year. And now he's come to a program where, again, they are riddled with expectation, but always disappoint. And like it's a place players go to fail, if
He just
anything.
needs he needs that
Yeah,
signature win.
yeah. If
Like say, I look at Miami's schedule. Like say, if he gets one of the big boys on the road in the playoffs and he goes in and upsets them, then yeah, there'll be no more denying it because people are just waiting for him to fail out there. Everyone's waiting for the
hmm.
first game Miami lose, and they're all going to probably blame Cam Ward because they're just that's the cynical side of people.
Exactly. You look at going, you got Louisville coming up who look bad, Florida State who are trash, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse. They could run it.
Realistically, yeah, there's
They
a
could
chance they're
run
going to
it.
run the table.
They run it and they'll be a top four seed. They'll get a bye and you've got the chance to do something special. So the door is open for Cam Ward here, but you know, that's why you don't do preseason rankings, folks. No one was talking about Cam. Now everyone is. You've got to wait and see what they do first. But this was a Heisman winning performance from the young man and absolutely terrific from him. Right, let's move it on because there's a lot of games we've got to talk about still. And we're going to move into the Dark Horse Dungeon or the upset arena this week because so many teams lost this week. And like I say, seven ranked teams went down, and I feel bad for some of these guys because usually in weeks gone by they'd have been the open of the show, and then they're getting buried down on the depth chart, and I feel especially sorry for Arkansas fans because they've not had it good recently. They've been a poor team under Sam Pittman in the last year and a half when it looked like they were getting better. They've had some bad losses this year, and they welcome Tennessee to town. And Tennessee, 15-point road favorites, the Nico Iamaleava led Orient Express just seems to be able to be stopped by nobody. Nobody gave them a chance in this game, and Arkansas shock everybody. They run out 19-14 winners at home, and they keep Nikhil Yarmolieva quiet, and they led for a part. Like the first half of this was rough. It was 3-0 at half time. There was a Kyle Ramsey 20-yard field goal in the first half. As this was just all completely defense. Whatever was said by Josh Heupel in halftime worked because within 7 minutes in the third quarter after half, Dylan Sampson's run for two scores, both from 4 yards out. Tennessee are up 14-3, and you're thinking, yeah, there we go. They're going to start pulling away from old Arkansas now. However, then they found their backbone. Took them 4 minutes to respond. Jaquindon Jackson, their own star running back, he had a 2-yard carry in, and they were able to get the extra point for that to make it 14-10. And in the fourth quarter, they had a 23-yard field goal with 12 minutes to go. And then it just turned into this fight. It's a 1-point game. Tennessee are winning. Each team's turning the other over and turning them away. And on their last drive of the day, Arkansas are able to drive downfield, and Malachi Singleton gets a run in from 11 yards out for a touchdown. They tried a 2-point conversion to turn it into a 7-point game, but they weren't able to get it. But they were able to turn Tennessee over on downs to end this. They went 7 plays, 60 yards. They tried really hard to get this, Tennessee did, but they went for it all and they lost. And everybody's talking about Vandy this week, right? Nobody's talking about Arkansas, but this is a huge shock. That Vols team, another like Old Miss, who had a very, let's say, sketchy set of non-cons. And they didn't look the best against Oklahoma last week in a win. The defense was really damn good. The offense did just enough. But another team in the SEC who've been found out when coming up against, it's not even high caliber opposition, but you've got to give your hats off to Arkansas for this. It's a terrific defensive stand against what was one of the best offenses in the entire college football.
Yeah, in recent weeks, like say Tennessee have not just been Nico, well, there's got running back that I'll talk about. They've managed to be a really balanced, high-powered offense in recent weeks through the air and on the ground. And it was going to take some serious defensive effort from anyone to shut down the Vols and just keep them to an attainable target. And I did not expect it to be the Razorbacks. Because as you say, it's not been great this year. Like I say, the head coach, offensive coordinator, like I say, the coordinators under tons of pressure. Things not going right on both sides of the ball. Turnover of players last year, bringing in new faces now to this year. There's been a lot of teething issues. But no, their defense, like I say, it stood strong. It stood firm. It gave the chance for the offense to do its job. Like I say, play a relatively keen football, give them an attainable target, and it set them a good target that they were able to win the game with. So yeah, it's a big side for them. It's just one in a long line of SEC upsets that just proves that the middle ground and the bottom of the SEC are better than the top of most of other conferences. Like I say, if you're in that middle ground or you're scrapping, you could win most other conferences. Like I said, or you do really well in them. That's just the strength and depth the SEC has right now. That no one's safe. Don't matter what little hashtag or number you've got in front of you. Like I say, you can be brought back down a bump with a really quickly. And it's good for a lot of these teams because we need to see how they respond from it. We need to see what happens to the likes of a Tennessee or Texas or Alabama once they do get that kind of adversity. Do they just shrug it off, or does it become a lingering taste in the mouth?
Well, we saw Ole Miss shrug it off this week, but I'm going to get to them later because we've got a bone to pick with a certain team in Carolina. But for Arkansas, they got a nice little core there. Taylor Green, the old Boise State quarterback, 19 of 27, 258 yards, no turnovers, didn't throw any touchdowns, but you've got Jaquindon Jackson, star running back. You've got Andrew Armstrong, who's the star wide receiver there. They do have the makings of something. They got 4 sacks on this Tennessee offense. Tennessee didn't have any in return. Like, it always feels like Sam Pittman's on the verge of something good there, but he's never quite able to take it to the next level. It's the same with KJ. When he had KJ and Sanders, they had a really good offense, but they were never able to take it to the next level. But they're still a team you don't really want to play.
No, there's someone that you know what to expect from them. You know how they want to play, what they want to get done. There's not a lot of bells and whistles. They're pretty straightforward, but it still means you've got to stop them. You've still got to beat the team from it. Yeah. And we saw the likes of KJ, Rocket, Catalan, Drew Sanders, Bumper Pool. Guys that, like I say, yeah, big names have gone on to latch on with NFL teams. A lot of talent has passed in and through the doors of Little Rock in recent years. And yeah, the sides have not been overly successful, but it doesn't mean in any given day they can't beat anyone because they can, and they do have that nucleus around them. And yeah, like you say, they've gone out and got an experienced back. We'll mention, like you say, and they've got a low floor, high upside quarterback in Taylor Green. Like I say, not everything went right at the Broncos, but there's a lot of talent there. He's a massive kid with a huge arm, got a fantastic build, and he's pretty raw. There's a lot to work with. So yeah, they're looking at the bigger picture with him.
Yeah, absolutely. So middle of the SEC, upsetting the top of the SEC. We're going to stay in the SEC because another middle of the road SEC team upset a top of the table SEC team, and this wasn't even close. Missouri, number 9 ranked Missouri. We had such high hopes for you, and you well, they were on the road to Texas A&M,
I
number
didn't.
25. Oh, you didn't.
No,
No,
I went with the Aggies.
Connor Weichman played.
I felt so justified with this pick. I
Connor,
was so
yeah,
happy.
I didn't know Connor Weichman was going to play. That is he was a game time decision, and then Connor Weichman plays, and then all of a sudden Texas A&M. I remember thinking I picked A&M, then I thought no, I said the words I believe in Luther Burden. I thought, damn it, it's one wrong. 41-10 winners for Texas A&M. And when I say this wasn't a contest, this was not a contest. It was 34-0 before Missouri put anything on the board. Texas A&M just destroyed them. That is the easiest way to describe this game. They just destroyed them. They had two touchdowns in the first quarter. Amari Daniels had a 1-yard run. Sorry, they had a field goal. Randy Bond hit a 44-yarder for them. It was 10-0 after the first quarter, but they were driving at the end of the first. Amari Daniels had another 1-yard run right at the start of the second. Le'Veon Moss had a 1-yard run with 6 minutes to go in the half to make it 24-0. And then they came out of the half and they just carried on where they left off. It took them 13 seconds to score in the second half. Le'Veon Moss had a 75-yard touchdown run. It took him 13 seconds. That's all it took there. And then they added on another field goal with Randy Bond, 34-0. Mizzou then finally decide to do summer. Brady Cook hits a long bomb to Theo Weiss Jr. for 60 yards for a touchdown. But then Le'Veon Moss has another rushing touchdown, 18 yards, takes it back up to 41-7. And then Missouri, in the most humiliating of all circumstances, right at the end of the game, 4th and goal from the Texas A&M 6, they kicked a field goal. Down 41-7, they kicked a field goal. That is stat padding. That is trying to, I don't know. That is your offensive coordinator going, I want a few more points from this game so I can pad my stats. It was absolute ritual humiliation, Ryan. 512 yards of offense for A&M, 264 for Missouri. There was 240 rushing yards for A&M, 93 for Missouri. And then you look at the stats. 8.83 yards per play for Texas, 4.3 for Missouri, 12 yards per drop back for Texas A&M, 5 for Missouri, 57% red zone success rate for Texas A&M, 33 for Missouri. It's just, and then on the defensive side of things, 5 sacks for A&M, 1 for Missouri. No turnovers committed throughout the game. It was a turnover-free game, but good Lord. I know Mizzou had trouble with Vanderbilt last time out, and they were struggling probably with being a top 10 team for once, but this wasn't competitive. That really good Missouri team we know and love just stayed, and there were clones in their place.
I think, sorry, Mizzou fans, but you've been found out. It's basically Brady Cook has to get the ball to Luther Burden. The run game has to do a little bit, and the defense has to hold up. And that's really all you've got to work with week in, week out. And we saw him, like I say, it didn't work against Vanderbilt. They were dragged into the mire. Didn't work this week. No run game at all to take the pressure off Brady Cook. And the Aggies defense, that we just know, don't we? The defense of the Aggies, the D line and that bread and butter, it can be monstrous. It can be enough to wreck any sort of game plan. Brady had little to no time in the backfield. As soon as he had, like I said, there was a guy with a big mitt in the air or someone in his face that he couldn't even get through the reads. And on the other side of the ball, yep, Le'Veon Moss having a breakout year. Like you say, he's already got nearly as many touches as last year. He's got more yards, he's got more touchdowns, he's got a longer run. Like I say, he's having an absolute stellar year for the Aggies. Like I say, he's going to really put this team on his back and have a great year. But yeah, Connor Weidman back. And yeah, defense that was able to harass Missouri and just kind of stop everything they want to do. And when you beat a team that badly, they kind of just revert into the shell and look a little bit spineless. Like I say, settling for a field goal. Honestly, I'd rather have just turned it over on downs. I'd rather just gone for it on every 4th down. Like, I at least want a touchdown here. But no. And yeah, I think Missouri's in trouble. I think for better or not, they've been found out right now. Like I said, they're a bit one-dimensional in the passing game. The running game, since losing Cody Schrager, has been pretty non-existent this year. No one's been able to really replicate what they've done. And it means Brady's a bit of a sitting duck behind the offensive line, looking for options. So, yeah, I think they're going to struggle between now and the end of the year.
Yeah,
Are the
absolutely.
Aggies legit? Honestly, you never know with Texas A&M. Like I said, they've opened a can of arse whooping next week. They could go absolutely shit the bed and drop a clanger. That would just be such an A&M thing. But I know right now they're a team you probably don't want to play because they're full of beans.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to believe it's down to Connor Weidman. I still hold hope for him. He looked really good in his first game back, and they've missed him. So, yeah, great there for Texas A&M, taking down number 9 Missouri, and the number 9 seed lost, and the number 10 and the number 11. And to go to the 10s and the 11s, we have to go to the Big Ten. And we'll start with 11 first, because we want to give this team a little bit more love. USC playing away at Minnesota. USC came into this as 10-point favorites. Nobody liked the Golden Gophers in this one, but you should have liked the Golden Gophers in this one. They run out 24-17 winners in what was maybe a crowning game for young Max Brosma as we continue to stand him on here. But it looked like it was going to be tough for them to begin with. They started off with a field goal from Dragan Kisic. And then USC got a touchdown. Miller Moss to Deuce Robinson from 3 yards out. Max Brosma then responded with the first of his 3 rushing touchdowns from the day, all from 1 yard out. So good for him. They did a lot of quarterback sneaking in this, put them 10-7 up. USC responded to end the half with a walk-off field goal from 54 yards. Really good kick from Michael Lance, in fairness. 10-all at the half, and then Jaquavius Marks comes out in the third quarter. He gets a 1 yard touchdown run for USC, and you're thinking, yeah, maybe that's it and done and dusted. And the score stays 17-10 until 7 minutes to go when Minnesota's defense finally gets going, and they finally got Darius Taylor going, more importantly than all. But Max Brosma gets touchdowns with 7 minutes to go and 56 seconds to go, and Minnesota is able to repel one last USC incursion to take down a ranked team, Ryan. And, you know, we talk about the evolution of Max Brosma. It's taken him a little time. 15 of 19, so over 75%, 169 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He had 6 carries for 3 touchdowns. Good for him. And then they got Darius Taylor going as well. 25 carries, 144 yards, 5.8 yards per carry. That's the kind of performance we're used to seeing from Minnesota running backs. A workhorse is going to get a lot of nasty yards, keep drives going, wear opposition out. And you saw as the game went on, Minnesota were able to wear USC down. And their defense is always vulnerable. And this young, plucky, upstart Minnesota team is starting to make waves. And this is a big signature win for them.
Yeah, like I said, I spent a couple of weeks ago, I praised Miller Moss for his performance against Michigan. They showed a lot, but yeah, quite the opposite this week. A Minnesota team that has been struggling to run the ball all year. Like I say, Taylor's had knocks. Like I say, and the guys behind him have struggled to take pressure off a quarterback that is really trying to find his feet in a huge step of competition. And trust it to be the USC defense that is the one that lets Darius Taylor get into his groove and just gashed him through the air. And that, like I say, means Brosma has to take no risks. He can kind of just pick them off like sitting ducks. Just move the chains. He didn't have to score. He didn't have to put the ball in harm's way. The Minnesota defense was really good. Like I say, got some takeaways. Miller Moss sloppy the ball. And this is it's a statement win on the year so far for Golden Gophers that have been lukewarm at best. USC, I don't know, very up and down, very hard to predict. Like I say, they come off a really good performance against Michigan, but not get the win. And then you see the side of them, like I say, where they limp to a defeat against a Golden Gophers team you'd expect them to beat, in all honesty. Like I say, but yeah, we see the highs, we see the lows of them. We really need Minnesota now to build off of this. They need to go into next week, like you say, knowing we can run the ball. We can trust Max not to put the ball in danger. We can trust the defense to do everything. For them, it's confidence and consistency because there's a lot of talent on that roster.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if it doesn't accumulate, it just goes bye-bye a year later, or like say 2 years later. They're not going to stick around. I like the Golden Gophers. They're a great team, but they've got to start maximizing these chances because they're falling behind quickly in a new look Big Ten. And they're going to have to stop the slide pretty soon, or PJ Fleck. Like say, this time next year, could well be looking for a new job.
Yeah. No, you've got to be careful, but this is the kind of win you want. Stack a few more wins, young quarterback getting confidence, you set the foundation for the future. And we've seen you can go places if you see Indiana's doing well, you see Rutgers doing well. It's possible. So you've just got to get that right. So well done to Minnesota beating USC. And then we mentioned number 10 lost as well, and hard to believe they were number 10 in the nation, but Michigan at Washington, and finally the defensive frailties or the frailties of this team were just a little bit too much for them. Washington were favored by 1.5, but people still probably expected Michigan to go out and give this a good game, but the quarterback issues continue to persist with them. I watched this. Washington started off hot in this. They were 14-0 up, about 10 minutes to go in the half, but Will Rogers had a good pass to Denzel Boston and then to Giles Jackson. Like, Michigan had nothing going on offense whatsoever. They pulled Alex Orji early. He went 3 of 7 for 15 yards. They're right. We're done with this. Didn't even go to Davis Warren. This time they've gone to Jack Tuttle, who I also believe is a 5th or 6th year guy they've got in
Yep.
there.
Former
And
Louisville quarterback.
yes. Oh God, he is, isn't he?
Yeah,
I wondered
he's been
where
around
I'd
the
heard
block.
the name from. Lord Almighty, he's the third string there. So they've moved to Jack Tuttle. He looked better, and they were able to stage a recovery. So Donovan Edwards started it off. He had a 39-yard touchdown run. Good run in fairness, well blocked. Got them back into it before halftime. They were able to force a quick out, and then they got a field goal from Dominic Zavada. Don't think he's missed a field goal this year. 45 yards, the Arkansas State transfer. One of the best players on that team this year. So it was 14-10 at the half. And then Michigan come out, still blunting the Washington offense. And Jack Tuttle comes to life. He gets this offense going, and he finds star tight end Colston Loveland from 8 yards out for a touchdown. And Michigan take the lead from being 14-0 down. They're at 17-14, and you're thinking, is this where it all changes? But unfortunately, the Tuttle revolution didn't last very long. Washington found a foothold back into it. They had to wait till the fourth quarter, and it wasn't pretty. They got a field goal from Grady Gross, 28 yards out to level it up. Then there was a couple of turnovers in play, but eventually they started getting Jonah Coleman going. They had troubles getting him going in this. He didn't wasn't his best game on record, but he was able to get him from a yard out for a touchdown with 6 minutes to go, put them a score up, and Michigan just completely went to sleep at this point. By the end, Washington had added another field goal from 32 yards. They run out relatively comfortable 27-17 winners in the end. I don't think this says anything about Washington being a good team, right? It says more about Michigan being a team in trouble because they just can't find a quarterback. They threw 3 quarterbacks already and we're 6 weeks into the season. And even Tuttle, he looked a little better, but he ends up in 10 of 18 for 93 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Those are Cade McNamara numbers. They're not healthy, and this Michigan team that offense is just going to continue to hold them back. And any half decent team they face, they'll lose.
Yeah, we called this a week or two ago, didn't we? That it's going to catch up with them, their lack of quarterback play, and expecting their running backs to do everything for them and their defense to be able to hold up every week. And unfortunately, their Roosters have come to roost home very early in the season. Like I say, this isn't even a reflection on Washington. Washington haven't been that good. Don't get me wrong, Will Rogers has been good, but Will Rogers is just an air raid quarterback that just chews up and spits out padded stats week in, season out, and doesn't achieve a right lot. And yeah, Washington have not been great this year, but they are too much for a team that, like I say, has rolled out its third quarterback of the year, and he still ain't it. He probably gets to start next week because he's the only one to get a passing, well, actually have a passing score. I
Yeah.
don't feel like many trips to the end zone this season, of course, have resulted in a passing touchdown for Michigan at all. So they'll probably roll him out because Orji as a dynamic dual threat, just not a facet in the passing game. Whereas Total will stand and deliver behind the offensive line of the game. But no, they are struggling right now. And Michigan could quickly find themselves on the skid if they don't sort out the QB position. I'd probably give Jack all the first team snaps this week, like I say, ahead of next week's game, just to get him in as the bona fide, give him the go. And then if he struggles, well, they'll worry about plan D when they get to it because they're probably going to end up there sooner rather than later. But yeah, their frailties exposed by a Wolverine side that it's better than average. But yeah, like I say, one too many games where Khalil Mullins is able to kind of dig them out of the dirt, and Will Johnson and those guys are able to lock it up on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, they'd only given up 14 points to them by the fourth quarter. That should be enough. But this is not a stain on the Michigan defense at all. It's very good. It's just this offense is rank. And it's Iowa at this moment. It's no better than Iowa. Like it's been propped up by a very good running back. And they've got a star tight end, but they can't use him because they can't pass to him. So, you know, another team who went down, Washington beat Michigan. They get a little bit of vengeance for last year's natty title game. And I mean, just the shocks keep on coming. Although we called the next one and we were pretty confident in calling this one. Number 22, Louisville, at home to SMU. And SMU, right, one of two teams this weekend who completed victories over teams in their conference who were in the championship game last year. So last week they beat Florida State. This week they beat Louisville. They beat the two ACC championship title contenders from last year. And another team in college football did this, who we'll talk about later. But SMU, after their early season troubles with the quarterbacks, they've got it going now. Kevin Jennings is set, 20 of 26, 253 yards, incredibly efficient. 10 carries for 113 yards and a touchdown for him. Preston Stone even came in, threw one pass and he threw it for a touchdown. They've found their rotation this year, and they were able to go, and this was a tight game throughout. It was never sort of out of reach for Louisville to come in, but what did sort of do for them here is defense being able to make turnovers for SMU. This defense is a lot better than I think we gave it credit for, and the offense is really good. I mean, I don't see a ceiling for SMU at the moment this far. Now they've settled on the quarterback room. They look very good, and two fallen championship contenders in a week now. They've got to be taken seriously in their first year in the ACC.
Yeah, they have built every week. They've found some cohesion on offense. Jennings, like I say, since winning the job, has been stellar. Like I say, his ability to get it done on the ground and get it done through the air with weapons like guys like RJ Maryland. Great special teams as well all year. They've scored a couple of touchdowns on special teams this year, SMU. Their field position from their return teams, their blocks, everything. It just puts them in great positions to win. And they're very rarely behind the chains. Great coaching, like I said, Rhett Lashler. Good defense that has got really good penetration, causing havoc players getting in the backfield right now. Not just their first year, they genuinely look like a title contender. Like I say, they're making their presence felt very quickly, and it's great to see. Like I say, they're doing it against good opposition as well. Like I say, they played BYU close, they took apart TCU, they beat a 22 Louisville. Like, put anyone in front of them and their game, like I say, they'll go toe to toe with them. It don't bother them.
No, no, I think this ACC is a bit deeper than we thought it might have been potentially with teams like this coming to the fore, and they just look dangerous. Like I say, they're incredibly well coached. Special teams are put them on another level. The defense is playing a lot better than people thought, and the offense just looks great. As for Louisville, they're just the stat padders they've always been out there. They never sort out that defense. They're always got Tyler Shook continues to stat pad. Isaac Brown had 117 yards on the ground. Ja'Cory Brooks had 121 yards and two touchdowns on just three catches in fairness. But it's kind of stat padding until you can keep the scores down, and they've struggled with that.
Yeah, like I say, they always felt rich at 22. It felt like we knew someone was gonna, even someone average could easily expose them. And now they're on the back heel. Like I say, unless they pick up a big super scout player on, there's a good chance they won't get back into the top 25 now and won't have a chance at ending the season in the AP ranking poll.
Yeah, absolutely. And the shocks keep on coming, and this takes us down to Louisiana because we mentioned it briefly, but one of the biggest renaissance jobs done by a coach this year so far, by a coach who never knows when to say no, Ryan. We talked about him in preseason when we talked about the Sun Belt. This is a guy who's been given a really rough ride throughout college football, unceremoniously dismissed by UAB when he was wanted there and the AD didn't want him, and what a decision that turned out to be for them. Had to go slug it out at New Mexico as an OC and did really well there. Then decided to take on the hardest job in college football potentially. Bryan Vincent going to the University of Louisiana Monroe Warhawks, who've been a bad team for a very long time now. 5 weeks into the season, he sits 4-1, and we talk about guys who've like put away teams. Well, this is not the team, but in the last 2 weeks, this Louisiana Monroe team have put away Troy, and now they've put away James Madison, who were 16.5 point favorites coming into this game. The over-under was set at 47. JMU were expected to win by 17 points. They barely scored 17 points themselves. And that usual great offense of James Madison, I mean, in fairness, they got nearly 500 yards of offense compared to ULM's 300, but they just didn't do a lot with it. They started off well. They got an opening touchdown. Alonzo Barnett, the quarterback, he had a rushing touchdown for 27 yards. They had a field goal tacked on to that to make it 10-0. But then ULM really came back into this. Ahmed Hardy, he's a true freshman running back, I believe, for them. 38-yard touchdown from him, which was really good. And then their defense comes up. Daniel Knudsen has an 82-yard fumble return, so the defense came up big, put them in front 14-10 before the half. JMU did get a field goal before halftime to make it 14-13. Noah Ruislas was good from 40. And then in the second half, there were no points in the third quarter. ULM got the next touchdown in the game. Aiden Armenta, he is the quarterback there now. They started with the general, but he's been benched or was injured. I don't know. I think he's been benched. Found Jake Godfrey from 12 yards out for a touchdown with 10 minutes to go. James Madison did respond. They had a 1-yard touchdown run from Tyler Purdy. Made the mistake to go for a 2-point, well, maybe not a mistake. They went for the 2-point conversion to level the game. They didn't get it. They were 2 points behind, and ULM's defense held this out. Ryan, this is their first 4-1 start in their FBS era. Ever since they've come up to the FBS, they've never had a 4-1 start. It's the best start they've had since 1993, full stop. And this is carried on the back of the 39th ranked scoring defense nationally. And they've got the fourth best fourth down defense in the nation. Like this thing, that the offense isn't great. They scored like 13 points against Troy. It's getting enough. But out of nowhere, this ULM defense was well in the hundreds. I remember the rankings from last year. It was not good. He's now got a top 40 defense in there like that. And they are grinding out tough wins in what is the toughest conference in the entirety of the group of 5 against high-level opposition. That's 2 big shocks in a week now. Nobody beats James Madison apart from the ULM Warhawks. I mean, Bryan Vincent the guy's a magician. He takes on the hardest jobs with no expectation, and no one expects him to do anything. And he keeps defying the odds.
Yeah, you only have to look at the stats in the game and think to themselves, like, they really did make life hard to themselves. They had 9 less first downs. They had 21 less plays. They punted 3 more times. They had more penalty yardage. They had more turnovers. They only had 2.5 more minutes in time of possession. And all those factors that kind of went against them. But they were able to grind out the win because of a defense that is able to bend, not break. Like I say, gives up load of yards, but holds the team under 20 points. That means the offense knows the benchmark, it knows what it's got to get to, knows what it needs to do. They can keep it simple. They don't have to gamble. They don't have to take risks. Sure, they can ride their luck at times, like say James Madison. I wasn't surprised they went for a 2-point conversion, but like I say, they were unsuccessful. Like I say, that's a mixture of not prepared, that's good defense, that's able to hurry them, rush them into a play, or just a screw up on the offense. But I said they're things you can control what you can control. And in the end, the conversion didn't take place. And yeah, back-to-back huge scalps now in what is an absolute minefield of a conference. And they've put themselves as one of the guys that just wants to keep its nose at the front now to the end of the year and see if they can actually make some waves. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they use this as a platform towards the end of the year. They've got bowl eligibility in their sights, but right now at 4-1, I'm looking at a lot more than that. Like I said, that's the minimum I expect now. I hope he's going to go out there, put real pressure on them to challenge themselves and say, you've got this far, don't let it unravel. Like I say, you've beaten the big teams, but now you need to show that you belong with them. So yeah, there's a lot achieved so far, but there's a lot to do.
You know what their win total was to start this year? 2.5. And they're already at 4
Doubled it.
through 5 weeks. Their win total was at 2.5, and people were saying under. Like, he's now at 4 wins. And like I said, they're 2 wins away from bowl eligibility.
Yeah.
It's
And
absolutely
they got some
insane.
really difficult teams coming up, so we're
Yeah,
really going to see what they're made of as well.
yeah. But there's going to be teams looking at this going now, they've beaten Troy, even though Troy are not good, but they've still beaten Troy, and they've beaten James Madison, who are good. They just dropped 70 on UNC, and they can't even get 20 on ULM. This just shows how crazy the Sun Belt is. But like Bryan Vincent I don't know who his defensive coordinator is there. I'm going to check out because that dude is doing some sterling work. Brent goes, speaking of multiple 100-yard rushers, didn't Army have 3 this week? I've just checked for you, Brent. No, they had 2. Kanye Udo had 6 carries for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns at a small average of 23 yards per carry. Bryson Daly went for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. You had a 100-yard receiver. So Noah Short had 3 catches on 3 targets for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Bryson Daly threw 5 of 5 for 140. So even the backup scored. They were 6 of 6 for 158 passing through the air. So you had 300-yard people, Brent, 2 rushers, 1 receiver. Army just crazy, but we did a little segment on them early. Go check it out. They're just great what they've done this year. Other teams, because there's more. Damn it, I've got to get back into this. East Carolina favored by 8.5 on the road to Charlotte, who have been nothing short of rotten
Oh,
this
they got
year.
dog
And you were
walked.
thinking, this was gonna be like Biff Poggi's on one of the hottest seats in college football. 55-24. How the hell do you give up 55 to the Charlotte 49ers? But what's even more crazy is I believe Charlotte are now 2-0 in American play. After they've had a rotten start to their non-cons. This was the team that nearly got beaten by an FCS side. Was it Stony Brook? They nearly got beaten by. And then the Charlotte 49ers just turn it around. They're 2-0 in the American right now, so undefeated. This is absolutely insane. Over 520 yards of offense. And East Carolina were doing all right this year, but yeah, well done, 49ers. Got to commend you on that. Putting down 55 whilst you were outsiders by 8.5. We go back to the Big 12 again, Rye. TCU at home favored by 17 against Houston, who were, I believe, hadn't won one this year. They might have won one game this year. They get dog walked 30-19 at home. I mean,
There's the real Josh who we love and know. Turnover magnet.
I mean, it's the love-hate thing, isn't it? But that is a big, that is a big turnover. That is in terms of, like say, TCU favored by 17 points at home. And Josh Hoover, what was it? 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They had 4 turnovers on the day. They lost 2 fumbles. They had 2 interceptions. You know the turnover luck in this game? 20 points. So turnovers completely and utterly cost them in this. And for Houston, I mean, Donovan, it's Zion Chris who was there. He had a good game, but you're kind of going into their running back room. Zion Chris is the running back. 8 carries, 111 yards. Some absolutely crazy things here, but the Big 12 is just, it's all over the place right now. But that's a big win for Houston. This game happened before we went live last week, so we went on Friday, but Sam Houston, right? 41-21 winners on the road to UTEP, and Sam Houston also sit at 4-1 as well this year after winning just 3 games last year. Another team like ULM who've found something out of nothing.
Yep, they flipped the script this year. Like I say, They started last season. They finished last season okay. Like they'd kind of realized they'd worked out the FBS thing, like say, but no one's expected them to start this season so well. Like I say, they've started hot. They're scoring heavily. The defense is going well. They're beating sides very comfortably. Like I say, through 5 games, they've positioned themselves really well to show that they're not just here to make the numbers up anymore, and they want to be a serious contender this year. And it bodes well for a lot of the FCS sides because we're going to see multiple teams in recent years jump up, and they're kind of going to look at this model like, how do we prepare ourselves before we make the jump? And in the first year, what do we have to do? What do we have to get right? And you're kind of going to look to these and for the kind of advice, like you say, like how to make the adjustment, because we're going to see a lot of teams having to make it in recent years. And some have done it well. Like I say, some of them started slow, like the Bearcats did, but it's kind of clicked for them this year. The game's kind of just slowed down for a bit, and right now, they're on a bit of a tear.
Well, you say that you saw Kennesaw State getting 60 dropped on them by Jacksonville State. I think Kennesaw are going the Sam Houston route this year. They're not playing well. They beat by FCS last year. They were but last week, and they were underdogs against the FCS team. And Kennesaw might be one too far, but we've seen James Madison do it. We've seen Sam Houston do it. So they can all do it. So yeah, again, another really good victory there. So that is a lot of upsets this week, a lot of dark horses just absolutely throwing a spanner into everything. In terms of the survivor suite, there weren't many. Like Miami were the biggest survivors this week in terms of, just preventing a big, massive upset. However,
Texas Tech survived again.
oh Lord, their games are so fun though. Like the amount of points that get put into their games. I mean, Arizona away, it was again, this is Big 12 and
You
you
got
don't
Texas
know.
Tech at 5-1 before the
Yeah.
season. You are lying to yourself and lying to everyone around you because I don't think anyone had them at 5-1 through 6 games.
But you know what the crazy thing was? Arizona were actually favored by 6 in this week. So this is technically an upset. I didn't
Yep.
think of it as an upset. I didn't realize the line was that far across, but Texas Tech are a player this year. Like Baron Morton continues to not throw interceptions. He's just a very good, competent back. Taj Brooks is back to his best.
Yeah, like I say, he's
Hun-
fully fit now and he's ready to just pick up where he left off.
128 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 yards per carry. He did lose 2 fumbles. He still looks a little rusty, but for the most part, he looks like he's there. And Arizona have gone back to being bad again after putting up some
Yeah,
really good
all the goodwill they
results.
built up this year, it's unraveled now. I don't trust them anymore.
No, although Tetiora looked really good. 8 catches, 161 yards, 20 yards per catch on average for him. But he's on a bad team this year and he's not really getting to show what he's about. But this is just going all over the place. And then the other sort of big favorite who was nearly shocked this week, Oregon State at home to Colorado State. They were 11-point favorites. This went to overtime. Um, the Colorado State, another who just blow so hot and so cold. We got good Colorado State this time, but Giovanni McCoy just did a bit too much for them. Anthony Hankerson, he's one of the, he's in the contention for one of the best running backs in the nation as well. He had 2 touchdowns. McCoy
Arizona
had
State,
three
they just
touchdowns.
survived against a one win Kansas.
Oh, I will not. That's not as well, I guess so. Right. Well,
It
okay.
was.
All right, well, we can move into the pick watch results then, because they were in that. So 35 to 31
Yeah,
for Arizona State. But I mean, what are they at now? 4-1?
4-1.
And people were saying they were going to finish at the bottom, and that was a game they had to win
Yeah.
if they wanted to be taken seriously as not being a bottom candidate. But like, I
They
didn't
dominated everything. They just couldn't put them away.
wasn't it wasn't this crazy stat that Sam Levitt was like throwing a touchdown pass every 4 throws or something like that? Every 4 completed passes, he had like a touchdown. I saw.
Yeah, he
Like
only
he
completed 14 passes and he had 4 touchdowns.
That's better than one in every
Yep,
four.
one in every 3.8 throws was a touchdown.
Obviously,
Yep,
Scatterboo. I hate saying that.
7.4 yards a carry.
I felt rotten. Like he's one of the fringe guys on my list this week. It's just I felt rotten. I was trying to put him in there, but I mean
Yeah, he's my honorable mention as well.
Arizona State looked legit in the Big 12 this year in a conference which is just all over the place right now. I think they've shown that they're legit this year. Like they seem to have got the right balance and the
Yeah,
defense.
Levitt's been a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, the defense needs
Biggest
to get a
test of the
bit
season
better.
comes this week as well.
But yeah, but Jalen Daniels, Devin Neal is a tough that is a tough lineup to face against. You're going to give up some points to them, but I thought they did very well overall. They come from behind, they win. Great win for Arizona State there on the pick watch. Other ones on the pick watch. So, um, Florida beat UCF 24 to
Oh
13.
yeah,
I'm never
UCF
betting
have just
UCF
unraveled.
again.
KJ
UCF have
Jefferson,
been one of my, yeah,
he's
I'm
just
sorry.
yeah, he's not it, is he really?
My guy, my guy KJ just didn't quite make it there, so it's a shame. Toledo beat Miami of Ohio 30 to 20 in the MAC in the top battle of the top ranked MAC teams. Nothing looks like it's stopping Toledo this year. Someone who isn't getting stopped though, West Virginia, 38 to 14 winners over Oklahoma State, and they
Yes.
had to do it without Garrett Green, who got a shoulder injury in this, and I'm not sure how serious it is, but they brought in the backup who looked absolutely flawless. I said West Virginia for the Big 12 title game this year. I think they look pretty damn good, if I do say so myself, Ryan. In the trenches, they look dominating. This Oklahoma State side, blown away by them completely.
Yeah, OSU looked like garbage, but West Virginia, yep, looked really good. Like
They
I say,
did.
they won in the trenches. Like I say, they won it on the ground. They won it doing all the dirty stuff.
Absolutely, they did. Virginia beat Boston College 24 to 14. Boston College were 14-0 up in this, and Virginia scored all their points unanswered. And I'm never going to forgive Boston College for that one because I bet Boston College. They are traditional Boston College. They're not back just yet. These are games they should be winning, and they didn't. Pittsburgh beat UNC 34 to 24. We called that one. Pittsburgh, I mean, okay, Pittsburgh, one of the last 12 undefeated teams in the nation. When do we have to start taking them seriously as an entity now? Because they've got a quarterback in Eli Holstein who, right now, he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. He is just slinging it here, there, and everywhere. Another 380 yards this week and three passing touchdowns and just out Jules Jacoby Criswell. This Pittsburgh team it's under the radar right now, but it won't be for much longer.
No, like say Holstein. I'd say right now, for judging, like say portal pickups, probably best in the country. If someone that wasn't on the team last year, right now, like I say, he's absolutely just he's killing it. Like I say, and I just hope, like I say, that he isn't lured away. Because like I say, been a breath of fresh air to the Panthers right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully they carry on well because that makes the ACC a lot stronger with having them at the top. And then I saved the three teams I've got the biggest bugbears with till the end. You can tell me I did get this wrong. I did. Navy absolutely obliterated Air Force 34 to 7. I picked Air Force. I was the only one who picked Air Force. I knew it was wrong. I still did it. And yeah, this was just a no competition. Navy looks so much better than them this year. The one we've probably both got a very big bugbear with, Ryan. Number 12, Ole Miss, coming off the back of that horrific loss to Kentucky, traveling to, our words, an underrepresented South Carolina team who are getting disrespected. Ole Miss beat them 27 to 3, and I'm now going to disrespect them every single week in existence because they didn't show up either. Like Missouri, South Carolina just went, you know what, we're going to take a week off. We don't really care, and I hate them for that.
Yeah, like I say, yeah, it's a fair big win for Ole Miss. Like I said, they couldn't afford to drop back to back games, but no, it was a good win by them. Very comprehensive. They were there for the taking, and South Carolina can look at this like say that's an opportunity missed. And I don't know. You feel it feels like the Shane Beamer effect has kind of I don't know the pizzazz he had of like say the first year there it's kind of worn off.
Hmm.
Like say and yeah, the team right now, I suppose they're just treading water. It feels like, aren't they? Like they're just not really going anywhere. And yeah, this was a game that, like I say, we picked them to win. Ole Miss looked vulnerable after a bad loss, but yeah, they were never in it. It was never even a contest.
No, it was absolutely and utterly disappointing. I turned it off after the half. And then the very last one, maybe one of the games of the week, actually. But there's one team who's not defeated this week, undefeated this week, and we've given them a lot of praise on this show. The UNLV Rebels at home to the Syracuse Orange in what was offensively minded, one of the best games I've seen in a long time. Syracuse come in as underdogs despite being the power team, and in overtime they finally put them away 44-41. Haj Malik Williams continues his great form since being emergency drafted into the UNLV team. 21 of 25, 227 yards, three touchdowns and an interception. Just his one mistake there. Ricky White, he's gotten going now. 10 receptions, 135 yards and a touchdown. But this was all about Kyle McCord, right? 40 of 63 for 355 yards, three touchdowns and an interception. And his favorite, and our favorite Syracuse player is back to his best. Oronde Gadsden the second, the tight end wide receiver hybrid. 10 receptions, 148 yards. Jackson Meeks had 8 for 67. Trebor Pina, 8 for 67. LaQuint Allen, 9 for 58. This was an offensive show. UNLV, that offense continues to be absolutely great, but their defense got found out this week. And, we said Fran Brown and Syracuse look really good this year in parts. And, under pressure, they came here. They put away a very good team who've already put away 2 power programs this year.
Yeah, really good win for Syracuse. Like I say, they need their big playmakers to show up. Like I say, I suppose at the next level, probably a tight end wide receiver hybrid. Like I said, I don't see Gadsden playing tight end next level. I think he's going to be, like I say, moved into slot and be a permanent receiver because he's got the flash, he's got the speed, he's got the silkiness, the cuts, he's got the ability to play as an actual pass catching, like I say, receiver next level. And like I say, he started the season slowly, but he had a really big week here this year. Is it sustainable having Kyle McCord throw 63 balls a game? Absolutely not. But like I said, completing over 40 of them just shows, like I say, how accurate Kyle has been this year. And the run game as well. It still chipped in with 150 rush yards. It was just offensive domination for the best part of it, spreading it around as well. And also, one of their best players has finally got going, Juice Chestnut. Like I say, I think he's one of the most underrated corners in the country right now. Like I say, he's coming with a lot of hype and he's started the season really well. Got his first turnover of the year. They needed it really badly. Like I say, he's come back to them after a gap year at LSU and he's already shown, like I say, he's the guy and the guy they look to. So yeah, for both of these teams, it was just a clinic. It was just a straight up death match, back and forth. Like I say, in the overtime roles, it was just a pleasure to watch as a neutral. Like I say, 2 teams that are going places very quickly, the players that are on the team.
And speaking of picks, another one for Jackson Woodard in that UNLV defense.
Yep. I felt sorry for him on the final play of the game because, like I say, he comes up, he makes a huge tackle on the game-winning touchdown, hangs on for dear life, and he gets no help. And he's ended up just dragging it in the end zone. Like I say, another game where just puts his body on the line, does everything he can physically possible, and he's the kind of guy someone's going to love at the next level next year to be
Yeah.
an absolute menace on special teams and as a package linebacker.
Yeah, absolutely. A few other games I just want to mention for various reasons. So Ohio State beat Iowa 35-7, and I came across this stat which I wanted to mention to you just to show how bad Iowa have been in big time games because Ohio State didn't look great to start in this, but over the last before Iowa got their touchdown in this game, which was in the fourth quarter, I believe, over the last 15 quarters against ranked opposition, do you know what the average score is for Iowa? They've been beaten 120-0 against ranked opposition. I mean,
Wow.
how bad is that? That is pretty much 4 full games. They've not scored a single point against ranked opposition until they got that Caleb Johnson late touchdown, which meant absolutely nothing against Iowa State. How big an indictment is that on them as been an actual serious program? Just goes to show their defenders, they don't deserve this either.
No. The defense every week, it huffs, it puffs, it tries to blow the house down until it's got no more breath. And then in the end, they concede loads of points and it makes them look like they played really badly. When in reality, the offense played like garbage. It put them in bad positions constantly, and it means the defense was on the field for at least 60% of the game. and they just run out of steam. And yeah, they send players to the draft, they make draft players, but ultimately the Hawkeyes ain't winning out anytime soon.
They gave up 7 points in the first 35 minutes of this. Like,
Yeah,
what
and
else
then
are
they
you
just
meant to
they
do?
crumbled then, didn't they? Like I say, because they
Yeah,
just gassed.
yeah. And Jeremiah Smith is, I mean, Jesus Christ, how good is that touchdown catch he made? Like that one-handed. Talk about Ryan Williams, like those two. Like, it's going to be a fight to draft one of those two. They're both stupidly good. You can't tell at this point who's going to be better than the other. Other games quickly wanted to mention. Uh, how long has Trent Dilfer got left? It can't be long. They had 70 dropped on them by Tulane, and you look at UAB Twitter, it is a fun place right now. No one's going to the games. They all hate him. And 2 years ago, they could have hired Bryan Vincent, and they didn't. And we said the day he got hired, we said he'll not last 2 years. And I think we're going to be proven right.
Yeah, I would. I'd pull the plug now. I don't think I'd even let him got this far after that weekend. An absolute atrocity, a war crime was committed.
You can't survive a 70 burger at home. I know it's Tulane, but still, have some respect, man. They were absolutely terrible. Troy got leathered by Texas State 38-17. They're 1-5 on the year now, I believe. They're just not going anywhere recently. Team who is, though, Iowa State, 43-21 wins over Baylor, and you called that as a possible upset in this one, but are you now starting to believe in Iowa State a little bit more? Because
Yeah,
Matt
they faced
Campbell,
a real stern test, like I say, and yeah, they're finding ways to win. And Matt Campbell right now, like I say, is kind of like say a sleeper for head coach of the year if they are able to actually make it to a Big 12 title game.
yeah, absolutely. My West Virginia Iowa State one could be coming up, although they play each other this week, so we'll see. Any other games you want to quickly mention from this week before we move on?
Don't think so.
All right. Well, okay. A lot went on. This was an absolutely smashing weekend of football, and there were a lot of good in there. Few blowouts, few teams doing well. Penn State continue to roll on. I think they're in the top three now. But yeah, we will see. All right, let's move it on because we've got a couple of things left to do. So we'll move into our running back rankings now. So we set ourselves a challenge a couple of weeks ago because we're always going on about how there are so many great running backs in college football, and each week we talk about them, and it was like, well, let's try and rank them because at the end of the day, there's so many good ones. I want to see what we think in regards to who we think might be the best. And I already know my answers are going to be wrong before this because there's no way. This is not a draft thing. This is just who me and Ryan think potentially are the best running backs in college football right now and us ranking them. So we've got a top 10 each. Ryan has some honorable mentions. So if you want to let's throw the honorable mentions in first before we get to the big ones. Who's your honorable mentions?
So my first one is Phil Mather at Clemson. Now, he really, in the last 3 weeks, Clemson have got hot. He's not been a huge part of it because K Klubnik is like say airing the ball out, but he's averaging like over 7.5 yards a carry. He's only touched the ball to date like 65 times, and that's way less than any person I'm going to mention on this list. So he's really not a bell cow that's being used. But like I say, he's got size, he's got pace, he's got everything. Like I say, someone that could be a focal point of an offense. He's just not really getting used that often. Whether they're winning games or not, that's not his fault, but he's a good piece. I've got to mention Fluff Bothwell, like I say, a true freshman, like I say, having a huge year, Jags. Like I say, having currently averaging 7.4 yards a carry as a true freshman, had the breakout game against App State, has got a very bright future in the group of five. And then obviously, yeah, Cam Scatterbo, like I say, 111 carries already, 619 yards, six touchdowns, just under 6 yards a carry. Had another monster 800 out weekend last week. A resurgent Arizona State team is leaning on him to help an inexperienced quarterback that's coming to a program. Fantastic this year. And this year, like I say, he's just an absolute mauler in between the trenches. And he's getting a lot of love around the nation now. Like I say, maybe prospect as a pro, I'm not sure. Like I say, lacks the physical tools and the speed, but grittiness, everything like I say, you cannot hold any of that against him. He is an absolute true warrior. And you could feed him the ball 300 times and he just won't slow down.
Yeah. Okay, the ones I will quickly honorably mention, because they're on bad teams and I think they're very good, but there's just so many guys in here. Jarquez Hunter, I want to mention the Auburn running back. I think he's absolutely tremendous on an absolutely rancid team. I would also give a shout out to Skatibo. I really, really wanted to put him in here, but there were so many difficult choices to be made. So, but he makes it into my honorable mentions, as does Henry Parrish Jr., the Ole Miss running back. I really like him as well. He was a big commit to Miami, I think it was last year,
Yeah.
and then he's moved across and he looks really great in that Rebels offense. But he's not. We've not seen the tippity top of his game yet, so he couldn't make it in. So let's get into the meat and bones of this. Let's start at 10 and work our way down. So who do you have at 10?
At 10, I have Henry Parrish Jr.
Ooh.
So he's got 91 carries, 570 yards, 9 touchdowns. He's averaging over 7 yards a catch. Like you say, he had a break, who's really good for 2 years, went to Miami. It was okay, but he's come back this year. He's currently on pace right now to smash all the numbers in every category. He's part of one of the best top five offenses in the nation. Like I say, he's got great hands out the backfield, great catches. He only weighs like 190 pounds. He's only like 5'10". He's quite undersized at the position. Like I say, it holds him back, but it does not slow him down at all. Plays his part in, like I say, Rebels team that wants to run the ball. And he's having a great year after a break, and he's going to set career numbers for this year. Like I say, I like him as part of a dual back combo. He will offer something to someone potentially. Like I say, he's a pass catcher, very soft hands, very nimble out the backfield, and he's quite elusive as well. Got good vision, patience. So I do enjoy watching him. It's not all just Jackson Dart in, like I say, Oxford. You do have to give credit to Henry too.
Yeah, I really like. I think he's really good. Like again, there's just so many guys I want to put in who I couldn't, but fully agree with that. At number 10, I've got Dylan Sampson, the Tennessee running back. And this is how good this class is because he's down at 10, but oh, he's in his third year there now. He's got 1,600 yards, going at 6 yards per carry, 25 touchdowns. He's having a tremendous year this year. He's already at 12 touchdowns on the season as that Tennessee offense is rolling with him. He's a decent pass catcher out the back. Don't use him too much. He had 180 yards last year. He's got 80 this year, but at 5'11", 201, he's perfect for their scheme. Gets out in space, speed for days, can really stretch a defense in that spread offense, which is what you need to be able to do. I just love watching him play. I think he's great between the tackles. He's great outside the tackles. He's got the good frame for it. Maybe put a tiny bit more on for him, but I've got to say the guy's a speedster. I love him. He gets so much yak. He's great contact balance wise. Like not nearly 1,000 of his 1,600 yards are after the contact. So forces a hell of a load of missed tackles. I think he's great, and he comes in at number 10 for me. Who's at 9?
I've got Jonah Coleman, the Washington back, at number 9.
Ooh.
Like I say, he's in a primary. To fair to him, he's in an all passing offense. Like I say, they brought in Will Rogers, the air raid quarterback. Like I say, transferred him from Arizona, and he's done really well to get that team out of trouble. When the passing offense is stalled, like I say, he's not big, he's not strong, but like I say, he's incredibly elusive in the field. He's hard to tackle. Like I say, he breaks tackles. He's got the home run ability to, like I say, get in open space. It's hard to carry him down. He's going at nearly 7 yards a carry right now. He's got 90 touches, and he brings balance to an offense that just wants to throw the ball and would probably be at a worse record if it wasn't for having Jonah in the team right now. I think he's a linchpin that kind of holds it together so they don't go way off balance and become one-dimensional. He's more important to them right now than Will is with his arm, I feel.
All right, lovely. And then at number 9, so I've got Baishal Tutin. He is the Virginia Tech running back. I absolutely love this guy. So he's in his fourth year. He had his first 2 years at North Carolina A&T. So he's a HBCU graduate. His 2022 season, he had 1,370 yards and 13 touchdowns at 6.6 yards per carry. Transfers to Virginia Tech at the start of last year. He had 875 yards and 10 touchdowns at 5 yards per carry on a not great Virginia Tech team last year. And this year, he's going even better. He's up to 5.6 per carries, 600 yards, 9 touchdowns already. This guy knows how to find the end zone. He's got 524 carries and 3,032 yards altogether with 34 touchdowns. Averages 6 yards over his career. He's done it at the HBCUs. He's done it at a smaller power program, which is coming up against some very good opposition every single year. He's got 4 100-yard rushing games out of 6 this year. And he's got them against Rutgers, the Hurricanes. He had a really good game against the Hurricanes. He moves the chains. He's a really good run blocker. So he blocks a lot better than the other guys around him. And again, just another who's a yak merchant. When he gets hit, so great on his feet, so great after contact. He's just your old-fashioned, send him in there, do the dirty work for you. I really, really like him. And again, the team he's on, I think he really shines and he really makes something for that Virginia Tech team. So I've got Baishal Tutin at number 9. Your number 8?
I've got Dylan Sampson. Like I
Ooh.
say, he has had a stellar last few weeks, taking the pressure off a very highly touted Nico Iamaleava. Like I say, he's at 12 rushing touchdowns on the year. He's become a real weapon out of the backfield as well, especially in the red zone as well. He's capping off drives where the narrow field narrows down. It's hard to pass the ball. So it makes him really important to punching it in at the goal line. And he's doing really well at that. Like I say, he's got a bright future, and he's also leading, like I say, one of the best offenses in the nation as well. Like I say, he's got a lot going for him right now. His workload should ramp up between now and the end of the year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just going to carry on getting better, and he's going to have a stupidly good year in terms of the amount of touchdowns he gets. Everyone talks about Giante. Well, he's already up at 12. Next at 8 for me. This is where I start feeling a little bit mean, but I've got Taj Brooks at number 8, and I think Taj Brooks is an absolutely tremendous running back. He's just been a machine in college. He's in year 5. He's approaching 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns. 17 of which have come over the last 2 years, 7 this year. Had a little bit of an injury worry, but he's still up at 124 carries already. And this is just your traditional ground pounder. He's 5'10, 230. So you can already kind of gather from that what kind of guy he is. He's just a pit bull that you send in there, like the battering ram that goes and breaks down a defensive line. He doesn't particularly do anything as a pass catcher, but for me, I don't really care if my running backs can catch the ball, and I care that they can run the ball and they can bulldoze holes through an opposition team. And he's a game changer. He's a game winner. Every time you need a clutch play, you put the ball in Taj Brooks's hands. He's the guy who'll go out there and do it for you. And I just think he's absolutely terrific. There's just other guys I have preference above him. Nothing to do with how good he is. This is just crazy. And yeah, Taj Brooks is just sensational. He's at number 8 for me. Number 7 for you, Ryan?
Brooks was my other honorable mention. Like I said, I was going to mention him. At
Oh,
number
with you.
7, which might surprise people, I have RJ Harvey. I have watched him, and God, he's literally the heart and soul of the Knights offense. Running back, also as a receiver, he is in the slot so often. He might be the best pass catching back in this list. Like I say, he's going at nearly 7 yards a carry. He's got 9 touchdowns rushing already on the year. He's only got 91 carries, which is less than some of the other guys mentioned. But everything that kind of goes right for them has to go through him. He's physical, he's fast, he's able to run away when he gets in space and gets in a foot race. You don't want to be in it. Like he's able to make difficult catches. He can pick up blocks. Like you say, he really is the hat. He's everything that gets going. If you're able to stop him down, you kind of take away everything the team is going to do. Like I said, in recent weeks, he's had some solo one single man missions where he's taken teams on his own. And like I said, whether win or lose, he's putting the team on his back right now, doing everything possible. And he's incredibly fun to watch. Like I say, there's a lot of things you can do with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I wondered how I knew you were going to put him in there. I wondered where it was going to come up, but I think that's perfectly plausible. Like I say, that UCF offense is just so dynamic and diverse in its run scheme, and it needs a really good running back to lead it. And he is that. And then number 7 for me, I've got DJ Giddens, the Kansas State running back, spiritual successor to Deuce Vaughn 2 years ago, and thought Deuce Vaughn was good. DJ Giddens is even better. I love his build. He's 6'1", 212 pounds. He had, in his first year when he was backing up Vaughn, he had 519 yards and 6 touchdowns. Last year without him, he ran at 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5.5 yards per carry, and he's even better this year. He's running at 7.2 yards per carry. He's got over 600 yards. He's not in the scores with it at the minute. He's only got 2 scores on the year, but touchdowns are not everything when it comes to the running backs. He is a chain mover. Back. Say Deuce Vaughn has come up doing well. DJ Giddens is going to come up. It's not his due year till next year. So he's just got the chance to be even better. He's going to be well over 1,000 yards again this year. Again, this is a guy, he's good as a receiver as well. 3 receiving touchdowns last year, 400 yards. He's a bona fide dual threat out the backfield. Kansas line him up everywhere. He's good at blocking. He's one of these rough, tough, traditional Big 12 running backs who will just go and knock a hole in something for you, and he's so good. He had 187 yards against Oklahoma State the week just gone before. 160 of it was after contact. Like this dude, you try and tackle him, nah, he ain't bringing you down. You ain't bringing him down. DJ Giddens is absolutely tremendous. So I've got him in at oh, hang on, he's there. He's at 6 for me. Is it 6? He's at 7. Sorry, 6, right?
6. I've got Khalil Mullins. Like I say, he's being asked to win games single-handedly half the week. He's the only reliable offense that Michigan have got right now. He's at 91 carries, like I say, through these weeks. He's going to get a lot more because they've recycled 3 QBs already. They're just going to keep handing the ball. They're going to run the guy into the ground. He's going at 6.5 yards carry already. Like I say, he's going to put up some big numbers this year. Like I say, 6'1", like 200 pounds. Like I say, he's well built. He's built to take the load. And right now, he's their only real outlet to stop them falling behind the chains. So I can't think of anyone on this list probably more important to the team right now than him. Well, there's one other guy. Like I said, this guy, like I say, he is everything to the Wolverines right now, in all honesty.
Yeah, he is. He's another who's come out of nowhere. He is amazing. And at my 6, I stay in the Big 12. I've got the Iowa running back, Caleb Johnson, at 6. And again, this seems very harsh considering how well he's done this year. Caleb Johnson is a shining star on a dying star of a team. 6 foot, 225 pounds. He's such a perfect build at running back. He's got this dense frame that just helps him batter through contact, which helps him get through those tough holes, just take on guys one-on-one and beat them. But he's got such great acceleration. He's fast moving. He's very decisive. His IQ's good. Once he sees a hole, he hits it. He's gone. It's just his rushing so well planned out. I just think he's an absolutely tremendous talent. And he's only going to get better and better. It's just like he's going to be his first full season as a starter. It was the year before last. Then he didn't do so much last year. And now he's big this year. But like, he's amazing. He's the only reason that Iowa team's any good this year. I say, got the frame, got the speed, got everything he needs. He'd probably be higher on this list by the end of the year as he goes. But I got Caleb Johnson at 6 there. I think he's tremendous. Top 5. Who are you at 5, Ryan?
Yeah, I've got DJ Giddens. Like I say, people thought Juice 4 were good. Like I say, this guy is a Chris Kleiman running back. He can do everything. Like I say, pass catching the ball. He's like I say, he's a potential home run every time you get him the ball. And him and Avery Johnson, they're just like I say, they're just so synced. What a wavelength those two are on. And like I say, they're able to just knife through teams week in, week out. They're going to be really dangerous at the end of the year. And like I say, he's got a really bright future ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's so great. Can't wait to see what he does. And he's going to go high. Depending on whether it goes this year or next, he's going to go high. So at 5 for me, I've got Jaden Ott, the California running back. Now, people have kind of forgotten about him this year because he's been hurt, which is just not fair on him. He deserves a lot more than that. But in terms of ball carries, he's one of the most explosive ball carriers out of the lot of these guys. You get the ball in his hands, he's gone. You saw in the game at the weekend, 67-yard touchdown for Cal against Miami. They just gave him the ball on a short screen. He put the heaters on and he was gone, and no one was stopping him. When plenty of guys had good angles on him, he was still able to outpace them. So he's a dual threat. explosive in the run game. You get him going out the backfield, he's just as good. You get him outside the tackles into space, nobody's going to bring him down. The speed is just it's literally game changing. And for any running back, that really elevates their stock high, which is so far up there. His footwork is great, the lateral agility that you see from side to side, the ability to get out to the side quick. I just love everything in terms of his game in that way. And hopefully he can come back. He's been a bit slow since he came back from his injury, but I think he's going to be just fine. And he could easily go as the first running back out of everybody. And there would be, I'd have no problem with that. Because I say, game changing speed and explosion, that's what you want. And again, just a really good build 5'10, 205, nice low center of gravity. Dude's a beast. I got Jade not at 5. Who have you got at 4?
It felt wrong not to include him, even though the Tar Heels suck. Amari Hampton. He's got the most carries in the country. He's caught 137 attempts. They're trying to run the kid into the ground, but he refuses to break. He's still averaging 5.5 yards a carry, and he's got 7 touchdowns on the year. He's special. Like I say, no matter how bad the team will play, or no matter how rough, like say, a week he's got to have a very bright future, and the kid needs to get the hell out of Raleigh and get himself in a team where he's going to be appreciated and his exploits can actually reap the rewards that they deserve. Because like I say, he has got everything. Like I say, he's a pro back. He's got the toughness and the mental resilience to take the workload. And he's like 6'1", like 215, 220. He's like off a conveyor belt. They've come pre-made, ready. Like you say, yeah. And even though, yeah, everything in his power is trying to stop him and slow him down, he's not letting them.
No, absolutely. He is so good. 4 for me, I've got Quinshon Judkins. Now, Quinshon, it's his Ohio State career starting off all right. He's not blowing it off the table, but I remember the running back he was at Ole Miss. He is young. He's only 20, so he's going to be a young prospect when he comes out the draft. Got a lot of carries on him, but in terms of guys who are built for the NFL, he's small, he's dense, 6 foot, 219 pounds. He's built to play in the NFL. He's scheme versatile as well. Ole Miss, as Ryan will tell you, they like to play around with their running backs and what they do. So do Ohio State really there, but he's scheme versatile. He's just got a level of talent, innate, inbuilt talent that you can't teach. His speed, his vision, his power, all of it. It's so good. I mean, he was the SEC Newcomer of the Year 2022. He hit the ground running for Ole Miss. I was disappointed he left. I would rather he have stayed there and carried on and been one of the all-time greats. But again, another who's sort of fallen out of the eye a little bit, but I just see the inane talent there, and somebody's going to take him. Like, he's such a good pass catcher as well, and that just screams out to NFL teams these days. But just in terms of innate talent, he's right up there. He's my number 4. And then we're getting to the big ones now, right? Who reaches your podium at number 3?
I've got Kyle Monangai. Like I
No
say,
way!
last year,
So do I.
he was outstanding, and he's backing it up already, proving it wasn't a one-hit wonder. Like you say, he is integral to a Rutgers team that has brought in a transfer quarterback that's just trying not to make mistakes, isn't winning games through the air on his own. Like you say, 116 yards carries already this year, nearly 6 yards a carry, 6 touchdowns, 667 numbers. The numbers don't light up everything, like I say, but he's just more than numbers. Like I say, he's a leader on that team. Like I say, he's trusted in, like I say, the important downs. Like I say, he's a senior now. He's one of the older guys. Like I say, everything that kind of embodies what the Scarlet Knights is doing kind of goes through Kyle. Like I say, yeah, when I was referring to the other one that is so important to their team, it's Kyle. Rutgers have started the year incredibly well because of this guy, like I say, and his ability to make plays, extend drives, and able to cap them off. Like I say, he's really good at the goal line. Like I say, he protects the ball incredibly well as well. Yeah, I just love everything about him. Don't know if he'll make it as a pro, don't know. But this year, thoroughly enjoying watching him, and he's putting himself right at the forefront of guys, like say, get a Senior Bowl invite, and he's going to get some look-ins next year. But yeah, absolutely stellar. Like I say, I've very much enjoyed watching them, mainly because of him this year.
Oh, I'm so happy with you right now, Ryan. I've got him at 3 as well, and that was the one that I was thinking, am I been too high here? Is this too unfair? I fully agree with you. Like, I don't care. He's not a pass catcher. Don't give a damn. Like, really don't care about it. Modern guy for where he is at the program he's at. and how valuable he is to that team. As you say, this has allowed Athan Elliott-Manis to go there under no pressure because he's got a running back who's able to take care of the game for him. And all Elliott-Manis has to do is manage it well, make his throws under no pressure like he was at Minnesota when they weren't running the ball well. And it just all runs smoothly because of Kyle Monangai. And he is just the guy you want to send into the trench out of everybody. If you want to send someone to go to war with you in there who needs to make some of his own yards, who needs to make something happen, he's the guy you send out of everybody. So I'm with you, Kyle Monangai at 3. And then we get to the last 2. So who's number 2 for you?
I have Caleb Johnson. Maybe this is too high, the Iowa back, but yeah, I love him. He's got contact balance. He eats a lot of contact, but like you say, yeah, he just bounces right off it. He's so big and so strong. Like I say, he's incredibly hard to bring down. He's the spark that the Hawkeyes need at any given moment. Handing the ball, like you say, against Iowa State, made some huge plays out of nothing. Like you say, bounce outside, and then when you get in open space and down the sideline, he's got that extra gear you need, even at over 6 foot tall, like 200 plus pounds. He's got that fifth gear to help him accelerate and pull away from guys. And he is going to put up some big numbers. He is going to eat some huge amount of targets, and he's going to have a very big future. Like you say, he's going to do really well, and he's going to, yeah, he is just everything that team needs on, and they're happy to rely on him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so good. I feel bad putting him down at 6. Like I think he maybe should be higher, but it's body of work, other bits. But I think he does absolutely deserve to be up there. Oh boy, this is where I'm going to catch flack now. Number 2, Ashton Gianti. I have at number 2, and I love Ashton Gianti, and I'm never an I told you so guy, but
And now I'm trying to think who you put at 1.
when we did, so 2 years ago, when we did the Mountain West predictions show, when we do our preview shows for these, when we did Boise State, George Helani was the man at the time there, and Ashton Gianti was the guy I said everybody had to look out for going forward before anybody else took a look at him. I love Ashton Gianti. He's an elite NFL prospect. Let's just get this right. Everything about his game, he's not got a visible weakness. A pass catcher, his vision, everything about his game is absolutely perfect. And you've seen this year, Barry's record is under threat from him. Like that's how good he's been. At the same time, he's playing group of 5 opposition. He is not playing Barry's Oklahoma State schedule that he did back in the day. But this is just me saying he's an absolutely marvelous prospect, all round based. I would love him on the Lions. Like he's just one I want right away. He'd just be such a. We don't need him. He'd just be such a luxury for us. He's going to end up somewhere where I really hate it. But Ashton Gianti, all round, absolutely tremendous. He's at number 2 on my list. I think he's the second best running back in the country. And I'm assuming you're about to say he's number 1 on yours.
Yeah, he's number 1. He was the first person. I just worked my way backwards. I couldn't think of anyone else. I am intrigued who you've got at 1, because whoever you've got at 1, have I even mentioned them yet? I don't think I have.
You have. You have. He's is there anything else you want to say about Gianti before I move on to mine?
Right, so yeah, he's just playing video games, and he's just a highlight reel. He's gonna go top 25 in the first round of the draft next year. I just hope he goes somewhere that doesn't ruin him, because I know a lot of teams that, like you say, are probably gonna absolutely scupper him, and that would be a true crime to see.
Yeah, absolutely. He's gonna be someone just needs to use him and just let him run day 1, running back 1. He's the guy. Let him go ahead and get that done. All right. Number 1 for me. And I have stuck by him very steadfastly here. He comes from a power program which creates wonderful running backs, creates wonderful skill players, and he's had this team on his back for so long now in a division which is incredibly difficult. I've got Omarion Hampton at number 1. I think Omarion Hampton is the best running back in the country. 6'1", 220. He has elite frame, like if you're going to bring him up to the NFL, that is the kind of guy you would bring up there. He's a versatile guy. He is a ground and pounder. He will get you the hard yards. Remember that win against Minnesota, which they won because of the missed field goal? Like, that was a tough day for them. They've lost Max Johnson this year. They've lost a quarterback one. All the pressure has gone on to him on that team. He was the one who's grinding out those 4-yard runs, 5-yard runs, 6-yard runs. He ground his team to victory. He's a game changer. And he does it and against a higher level of opposition, which is what I hold for him here. And everything about him, he's every kind of running back you want to be. He can be a bulldozer, or you get him into space, and all of a sudden he's a home run hitter with his speed. He can hit you any which way you want. He's probably the most versatile running back out of the lot of them in terms of what you want to do with him. And I think he's going to be a running back one in the NFL for a very, very long time. Let's say fighting through tackles, missed tackles, just he's everything. 1,500 yards for him last year. He's up at 770 this year. He's got 22 touchdowns. His hands are very good. His fumbling, he's not a single fumble on the year so far. It's one of the few things that was holding him back. He's been absolutely fine. 16 of 19 as a receiver. He's 50 of 56 on targets throughout his career. Like, he's got the safest pair of hands you want as a receiving running back. I just think Amari Hampton is a slight, tiny bit better, despite the video game numbers that Giante's putting up. But I love Ashton Giante as well. It's not a go at him. So I don't know if that's too high or what, but I think Amarian could legitimately be running back one. So there we have it. Just quickly read out your top 10 again, and then we'll just so everyone knows.
Got Henry Parrish Jr. at 10.
Yeah.
I've got Jonah Coleman from Washington at 9. I've got Dylan Sampson from Tennessee at 8. I've got RJ Harvey from UCF at 7. At 6, I have got Khalil Mullins from Michigan. 5, I've got DJ Giddens from Kansas State. At 4, I've got Amari Hampton from UNC. 3, I've got Kyle Monangai from Rutgers. 2, I've got Caleb Johnson from Iowa. And number 1, I've got Boise State's Ashton Giante.
Oh, lovely. And then quickly mine. At 10, I've got Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. 9, Byshul Tootin from Virginia Tech. 8, Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. 7, DJ Giddens from Kansas State. 6, Caleb Johnson from Iowa. 5, Jade Knott from Cal. 4, Quidshot Junkins from Ohio State. 3, Kyle Monangai from Rutgers. 2, Ashton Giante from Boise State. And number 1, Amarian Hampton from UNC. Right, let's get through the last section of this because we have been going a while. Don't want to keep as much longer. The Week 7 preview. We'll go through the pick watch ones first. We'll not do the usual razzle dazzle with these. We'll just pick them and then talk about any games we like. So I've got them back in here again, Ryan. I'm going to keep going at you with these guys. Utah at Arizona State. You said Arizona State's toughest challenge so far. Utah ranked 16. Arizona State at home again. Utah are vulnerable. Is this their time for their signature win?
It all falls about Utah and it. Who's the quarterback? Actually, I'm going to take Arizona State for the first time this year because I don't trust Isaac Wilson as far as I can throw the kid.
I'm going to take Arizona State as well. They do me well every
Their
year.
defense is getting turnovers, which is not good for a rookie quarterback.
No, it is not. And, their defense can only do so much. And I think this ASU offense is just very varied. We'll give them too many problems. The big one next, Ryan. Number 2 ranked Ohio State at number 3 ranked Oregon. Battle of potential frauds. Who have you got?
I'm going to regret this and say Oregon.
Ooh. See, I don't want to pick either of them. I think if I could pick a loser, I'd want Ohio State to lose more than anything because I think Ryan Day's an utter fraud. But Oregon are equally amount fraudulent when it comes to big games. So I'm going to pick Ohio State. I'm going to split from you. But whoever loses, we win because one of the frauds get outed. Stay in the Big 12 next. Number 4 ranked Penn State away at USC. Penn State have just been sort of chugging along really under the radar this year. A few little mirrors here and there. USC, who knows what the hell they are, but This is Penn State we're talking about, and they've always got a loss in them when you least expect it. So is it this week, or are they going to survive another week, Brian?
Yeah, Penn State will win fairly comfortably.
All right, we've got Penn State there. Now, how big a believer are you in Ole Miss again? They're traveling to Tiger Town to take on the LSU Tigers. Ole Miss at LSU, SEC action. LSU, I don't think they've looked that impressive really this year. Ole Miss have had their setback, but they got back on track this year, and they need a signature win now. If they want to get in the playoffs, they've got to win this game. Are they back that much yet, or will LSU beat them?
I'm I'm really not impressed at all by LSU. Uh, yeah,
But are
go
you
on,
ready
give me Ole
to?
Miss.
Oh, you're ready to forgive them. So if they lose this week, you're gonna have an epic meltdown next week about them.
Harold Perkins is gone. That means the Ole Miss offense can run rampant.
Um, I don't know what's going to happen here. My preview for the Big 12 championship game happens in season. Iowa State at West Virginia. The Bectacle, his biggest challenge of the year for an undefeated Iowa State side, coming up against West Virginia. Don't know if Green's going to be healthy, but they look fine with the backup last week. They're dominating and they're at home. This is like picking between my two favorite kids, and I've got a favorite one of them, and I don't know who. Who are you
I
picking,
think
Ray?
West Virginia get the upset. They're wearing their all new, brand new, all black coal miner uniforms. They're gonna get the upset.
Oh, they're sick. What are Iowa State going to wear then, though? Because they wear black on the road.
Yeah,
They
they'll have
must.
to maybe wear their homes.
Oh, they wear the
So they have
white
like a
ones. The
yellow.
whites. They've got whites, haven't they?
Yeah, they got a whites with the red yellow
Oh,
stripes.
I can't. I can't pick. These are my two kids in the Big 12. No, I can't call myself a proper Becticleist if I don't back them. I'm going Iowa State, but I'm sorry, West Virginia. I still love you. Kansas State at Colorado, staying in the Big 12. Colorado surprising everybody this year. They look a great team. Kansas State's probably the toughest test they're going to have, and Kansas State also look good. This could be a potential game of the week here, and I don't think it's easy to pick a winner. Who have you got?
Colorado have running the ball recently, but I don't think they can run it as well as Kansas State. I'll take the Wildcats in a yeah. That's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, I'm going to pick K-State, but if Colorado win again, then I'm going to have to start showing them some
I won't be
respect
surprised
down
if
the way.
Colorado win.
I won't either. But this could be DJ Giddens' game where he comes in and really makes his name known. Red River rivalry. Texas at Oklahoma. Now, on paper, Texas are way better than Oklahoma. And, this should be easy. But this is the Red River rivalry, Ryan. And Oklahoma won this last year at Texas. Shocked them all when they were unbeaten. And they did it against the odds. Form goes out the window for the Red River rivalry. Are Texas going to continue to fly the flag for the SEC, or are we going to see another massive spanner put in the works at the top?
I read somewhere Quinn Ewers is probably back.
He is playing in this.
I just don't trust the Oklahoma quarterback. Is it that freshman?
Yeah, it is. Michael.
Yeah, nah, give me Texas.
Right, we're going Texas sweep for the Red River rivalry. Okay. One of the best rebuild jobs in the country. We've got Louisiana Monroe away at Southern Miss in Sun Belt action, and Southern Miss, just for the record, so we can give some context to this. I don't think they're having a good year, but I will double check. They are 1-4 on the season. They have lost to Louisiana, Jacksonville State, South Florida, and who else did they lose to? I don't know who else they lost to. They've got one win over FCS opposition. That's it. So this is a bad Southern Miss team, but this is a ULM team which is building from scratch and is doing well. Like, this feels like a toss-up, really. This is a game they could win. Keep this little fairy tale story going.
I need to catch up, so I'm going to have to take some risks. So give me Southern Miss. The upset.
Oh, I'm gonna go Warhawks. Let's see. We'll go. But he's going Southern Miss. You mean need to catch up? You're only 2 points off the lead of the whole thing, I think. You're not that far behind. You're in second overall.
I'm throwing caution to the wind now. I want to win.
Next up, we've got the Calgorithm away at Pittsburgh. So Cal, away at Pittsburgh, undefeated Pittsburgh, but banana skins in the ACC. Everyone's losing this year. They're one of the only undefeated teams left. Are they the only undefeated team left? They might well be, you know. NC State aren't, Clemson aren't. I think they might be the last ACC team standing.
Yes, I believe they are.
But it's Cal, and we've seen how good they can be. This could be like a 60-60 game. There's two massive offenses. Who have you got? Cal at Pitt.
I don't know. I'm not overly sold on Mendoza. I'll take Eli Holstein. I'll take Pitt.
Oh, I'm going to take Pitt as well. So we've got a Pitt sweep there. And then to finish it off, we've got our guys Rutgers. They lost for the first time last week away at Nebraska, only 14-7. Defense continues to be good. They're at home to Wisconsin, looking for a bounce back. Wisconsin, have been all right themselves. Are Rutgers going to bounce back, or are they going to start falling down now they've lost one? Are we going to see the soft underbelly of them? Or will Monangai right the ship?
Wisconsin upset.
He's going for the Wisconsin upset. Okay, so we've diverged on a few this week, but we will see there. Brent's been following along. He picked Arizona State to win, got West Virginia to win, Kansas State to win, the Texas Longhorns to win there. Let's just quickly go through where all the other ranked teams are going, and then we'll get out of here because we've been going some time, but we have had a lot to talk about today. For record, actually, CUSA football starts today, so you get college football most of the week now. The midweek CUSA. It's Florida International at Liberty tonight. That is my CUSA championship game for the year. Really need Florida International to win that. What did you make of the Miami Vice unis? They're sick, aren't they?
Oh yeah, the neon pinks.
Yeah. The Florida International.
It reminds me of Vice City.
It does. It does me as well. I absolutely love them that way. So, but yeah, CUSA's on today, tomorrow, New Mexico State, Jacksonville State. Then it's Sunbelt stuff. So we get football all throughout the week, which is great. Other ranked ones that we've not mentioned: Mississippi State away at Georgia, South Carolina away at Alabama, Florida away at Tennessee. That is a rivalry game, is it not? I can't remember which, but they're making a big fuss about it. But yeah. Do you see Florida upsetting there, or
no?
No, I don't either.
Not now they're rotating quarterbacks.
Nope. Clemson are away to Wake Forest, Stanford away to Notre Dame, Arizona away to 14 BYU, Boise State away to Hawaii, Missouri 21 now, big fall for them away at UMass, Purdue away to number 23 Illinois. I don't know, I'm not sniffing many upsets this. I don't expect 7 teams to lose in the top 25 this week.
No, I'm not. Nothing jumps out at me.
No. Anything other than that? Washington at Iowa, consider putting that in.
Yeah. Coastal Cal.
Oh, they're
got a big
playing. Oh God, who are they playing again? They're playing on Thursday, aren't they? They're playing Thursday. Yeah. James Madison.
4-1 battle.
Ooh. Is he Coastal upsetting them again, or I think James Madison are going to twonk someone after that UNLM game.
What about Vandy? Do you think Vanderbilt beat Kentucky?
Oh. On paper, who's the better team? I think Vandy are the better team. I think Vandy look the better team.
Yeah, their losses, they've played better than Kentucky have in their losses.
Yeah, I'm going to say Vandy win against Kentucky. Absolutely. I'm all on the Vandy train now. Let's get some more wins for Vandy there. My NC State are at home to Syracuse, but Grayson McCall is hurt. That hit to him was just... Did you see it?
The helmet off, like you say, yeah.
How 3 of their players completely banjaxed him and nothing has been done.
Yeah.
I'm so disgusted with
no one
that.
even stopped as well. They just returned it.
So disgusted with that. Fresno State at home to Washington State?
Washington State have gone off the boil recently.
They have, haven't they? Georgia Tech away at UNC. UNC lose again? Matt Brown's job could be on the line.
Yeah, Georgia Tech should. I think they'll win. They upset Duke last week.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Right. Any other games you want to mention? Because I know we've been going a while, so we're going to get out of here now.
No, that's everything.
No, all good. Oh, Brent says Army UAB. Like there's any. Right. Let's do a different competition. It's not that Army aren't going to win. How many
How many will they
points?
win by?
Yeah, how many points are Army going to score against UAB? Let's do that as a competition. How many points do you think they'll get?
55.
I'm going to go 60. How many points do you think Army are going to get, Brent? We've got 55 and 60. Watch UAB win now and just make us look completely stupid. Especially because I've done a segment on it at the beginning of the show and everything. Oh, Matt's put 75 in the chat, which must mean he's here as well. So, come on, Brent. You're the Army fan. You've got to go higher. You've got to have faith in them here. Right. So, thanks to everyone who's joined us this evening. Really do appreciate it. It's been a long one, but there's been a. Brent says 51. That seems okay. So we've all got over 50, so we need Army to go out there and absolutely kick ass now. Thanks to everyone who's joined this evening. I know it's been a long one, but we've gone through a lot here, gone through some news, done the little segment towards Army and Navy, and then we had a lot to recap in week 6. So thank you for all bearing with us. Our running back rankings are done as well. Feel free to tear them to shreds or agree with them, whatever you think. As always, if there's anything you want us to anyone you want us to scout, anything you want us to do on here, then let us know and we will do that for you. We've got to look at edges for Ash next. I've still had that on the list, but we've had to get through all these other things first. So we'll start on edges next, and we'll have a look at that for him. But if there's anything else you want us to look at, let us know. Next shows, the main podcast is back Friday. We will be previewing the Dallas Cowboys game, and then the guys will be live on Sunday as well on the call during that one, so join them for that there as well. And me and Ryan will be back next week to talk about hopefully a less, well, no, maybe not. Let's just have absolute chaos in week 7 as well. Going to be absolutely great. Let's have 8 or 9 top 25 upsets to keep us going next week. But yeah, we'll be back as always with that and some chat on edge rushers. So thanks ever so much. Appreciate you all. Find us at Roar of the Lions UK all over. Just type us in online anywhere and you will find us. And yeah, appreciate you all. We'll see you again soon. Just remains me to thank Rye, remains me to thank Hank, and we are out of here. See you soon.
Recording stopped.
Oh.